Your Honor, this is cases number 385 and 386 on the calendar in the matter of Norris, La Lumiere versus Rapporteur.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Norris, this is your mother.
It is.
This is your boyfriend.
Yes.
You claim that your mother owes you for rent during the time she lived with you.
Yes.
When did your mother come to live with you?
Sometime early, mid-November. I'm sorry.
Questions are going to get harder.
I'm just nervous. Around mid-November last year of 2000.
And under what circumstances did she come to live with you?
Shortly before, less than 2 weeks, she'd been evicted from yet another apartment, and she called me very upset because she was stranded with no place to go. So, again, I let her live with me.
And she had stayed with you before, I assume?
Yes, several times before. I've helped her.
What was the financial arrangement, if there was one?
That she would agree to pay $50 a week if she was responsible for her other expenses, her personal things, doing her own laundry. I have washer dryer. If she was going to take care of all that out of the house, then it would only be $50. I have 3 floors in my apartment. The 3rd floor, she had all of that for her. There was two rooms with full closets. She had, you know, a good amount of space.
And your mother agreed to pay you $50 a week?
Yes, at least.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you say that she did not pay you the $50 a week?
No, she was with us for around 10 months. During that time, we got at most $200 in total from my mother. Not only, that's not just cash, we got one payment in the form of a scratch ticket that she had won. And after a period of time, she just said right out that she wouldn't leave and she wasn't going to give us any money anymore either.
All right, let me hear you.
I moved in there on the 28th of October. We agreed on $50 a week. Mr. LaLumia told me at that time $50 a week would only allow me a room or the rooms. I wasn't allowed to use the phone, watch television, or eat any of the food in the house. I'm a tea drinker. I bought my own tea, sugar, and milk. I ate at the local pizza parlors and the little variety store at a cost of $80 to $90 a week to myself. I bought my own cigarettes and liquids outside of my tea, and they never bought any of my necessaries, and I wanted nothing of them, Judge Judy, at all.
I'm asking you about the $50 a week you're
I
supposed to pay.
paid them. I have, where I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was on unemployment when I moved in, I didn't ask Sherry for receipts, or I didn't give a receipt because she's my daughter. I have accounted for financially $1,150 that I did at different points give her altogether.
The only she paid was a $50 money order
And I do have
and
receipts from the
a
landlord.
scratch ticket and the 3 receipts from the landlord. That is the only money that Miss Rapporteur has ever given us in the time she has lived with us. She has been supplied with food. She has snuck down in the middle of the night, taken food up to her rooms. She has ravaged the house.
Judge Judy, I lived with my daughter and Mr. LaLumia for 10 months. Not once in the 10-month time did Sherry or Jim ever speak to me.
So why didn't you leave?
I tried to get jobs while I lived there. My daughter blackballed me out of jobs. People would call there, and Sherry would say nasty, dirty things about me to companies or places that I was trying to get employment. So I wasn't really working other than a $6 under-the-table job at 15 hours a week.
Did you live with your mother until you were how old?
15, I left home.
You were 15.
I was 15 when I left home because I had abusive parents. At 17 was the first time my mother stayed with me because she had been evicted at that time. She stayed with me for a short period of time when I was just a teenager. For all of these years, I have helped her. This is the 3rd time she's lived with me, at least. And every time it ends terribly.
Well, tell me how it
makes
ended.
me hesitant to help her any further, but I do, because she's my mother. I do. She's whispering things over here, being taunting.
Shh! Don't speak. How old are your children?
12 and 13.
And they live with you as well?
Yes.
Does your mother have, to the best of your knowledge, any particular problem that causes this eviction from one apartment to another apartment? Has she ever had any psychiatric treatment?
It's not just apartments that she continuously gets evicted from. She can't keep jobs either.
I'm asking you about any psychiatric disability.
Yes, when we were children, my brother and sister and I, when she was with her first husband, she was getting psychiatric treatment at the time. I was young. I didn't pay much attention. My brother actually had brought it to my attention recently. He reminded me of that. And at some point after she and my father split up, she and her first husband, he was not my biological father, she stopped getting any sort of, I don't know if
Any
she's
help.
on medication. She never has continued counseling or medications. And yes, I know that is greatly to do with why she can't hold jobs and she can't keep apartments, because she can't maintain relationships of any kind. I am her oldest child. She was a teenage mother when she had me. The last words my mother has spoken to me since she left my apartment was that she's regretted this since the day that I was born. And I am the only person that has helped her since I was 17 years old. She's from a family of 10. She has 9 brothers and sisters, and they won't help her. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. They won't help her. I have helped her over and over again since I was a teenager myself.
So,
and this is what happened.
Miss Norris, let me ask you this question. I know you're upset.
Because it's my mother.
I gotcha.
She's supposed to be the mother, not me.
You know, sometimes roles change when you don't want them to.
But when it's hurtful over and over again, that doesn't bother me, taking care of her and help her. I knew she needed it, and I didn't have a problem doing it repeatedly. The only reason that she was even in the home is because she's my mother. I mean, Jim didn't know her anything. I didn't really either, but nobody
What
else would
happened,
help
Miss
her.
Norris? Listen, let you compose yourself for a minute.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Norris says her mother, Paula Rabator, owes for unpaid rent and living expenses. Sherry says she's been burned before by her mother.
Miss Norris, after 10 months, your mother left your house. Had you had a fight?
There had been a fight, well, not a fight. Oh, yeah, it was. Actually, it started over money. When she first came, she had no job. She'd just been fired from a job. Animosity was created when she was asked when she was going to start paying. She said she wanted to take time off, and it was just before the holidays last year. She had just gotten fired. She'd just gotten evicted. She said she needed time to recover. And with the holidays, I thought, okay, you know, it's not a problem. It'd be hard to find employment anyway right now. So that was not a problem. And then she did get a job while she was collecting unemployment from another state. That's another character point of hers, using different names.
Tell me what happened at the end, Miss Norris.
Okay, lots of stuff happened in between. She was a terrible example for my kids, my daughters. The things that she says and the way that she talks, my kids were just, their chins hitting the floor with the vulgar language that she uses, not just profanity, just very sexually oriented things and just other totally bizarre things that she did. She had a small bird. She believed one of my children was responsible for killing it. So she nailed the dead little bird to her bedroom door with a note telling my daughters to stay out. That's how she is. And my children even think they said when they left the room, the bird was fine. They believe she did it herself. This is where her mental illness comes in.
You did it, made your kids think it was me.
This is where her mental illness comes in.
But I would hurt my birds.
Just a minute.
She threw them out the window, all of them having been pets caged for 5 years. They can't fly. And she threw them out the window the day she was leaving. That's how much she loved her birds. I thought she loved them too. But when she did it, she made sure she came downstairs to tell me she had just thrown her birds out the window. 3 of them I never saw again. 1 of them hit the ground because she was so weak. I still have her. It was my neighbor that, this is her act.
Just a second.
Please,
Question,
understand
Miss
that.
Norris.
You're not
Miss
getting the
Norris.
point.
I know, I'm missing the point. This is getting distracting.
Okay, it's getting distracting. But let's get back
No, anyway,
to it.
so the point, at the time that I needed to ask her to leave, she was not paying any money. I forgot exactly what happened, but I said, that's it. Jim
Go.
asked her for me, because I had a hard time with this because of the whole situation.
All right, so it got difficult.
It got very difficult.
It got
So
difficult.
she came to me, Jim had gone to her work one day and said, you need to leave. And she came home that Saturday from work and said, you know, well, she didn't listen to anything he said. She just thought he was the biggest jerk in the world. So she came to me and she says, I never talked to her. She asked me, is it true? Do I need to leave? I said, yes. She said, why? I said, because, Ma, you've been here for nearly a year. You have accomplished nothing. So I just said, it's just not working. It's just not doing any good, Ma. I think you could stay here for another 5 years, and it would still be the same. You'd still be right where you are, not a dime in your pocket, nothing, and no job. So enough is enough. That's it. I said my children are leaving the long Labor Day weekend with their father. I didn't want them there when she was moving because I knew she would cause a scene. So I said that I would give her that 4-day weekend with my car to remove herself and her belongings. Well, that Saturday, she came back to me crying, saying, I need help, I know I need help, I've needed help for a long time, and that's what I spent all week doing. I wasn't at a job interview the other day, I was at the emergency room at the hospital because I know I need help, and can't you just let me have the time to get help, Sherry? And so I said, fine. And then I talked to Jim and I said, well, my mother's not moving out this weekend.
Ultimately, she moved out when?
The following week, even.
Okay.
She even had more time, and the day that she moved out, it was because we got legal papers in the mail. We received notices in the mail that she was taking us to court. Said, forget it. Forget it. Why are you doing this?
Why was she taking you to court?
It was a charge.
Threat to commit a crime. The threat was taking legal action to have her evicted from the apartment.
If that was necessary, because she said, I'm not leaving. I don't care what you say. He said, if I have to take you to court,
So she filed a complaint of threat against you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you told her, you managed to find your way to the courthouse, now you can find yourself a new apartment.
That is correct.
Well,
okay.
He came home from work, and I actually, over the weekend, I said, my mother talked to me. I'm going to let her stay, because ultimately, for me, I have been dealing with this sort of thing for my children are petrified of her. Nobody will do it.
Okay, all right, stop.
I know you want a
Ultimately,
cathartic
if my
event.
mother can be normal one day, that's all I've wanted half my life, and if we have to bite our tongues and deal with it a little more, for her to get help, fine.
May never happen.
I stand there, I can't even believe. I can't
May
even
never happen.
believe it.
All right, Miss
I don't
Rapaport,
think so.
listen to me. You left your daughter's house.
Oh, could I?
Just a minute. Your claim is that she either kept or destroyed some of your property.
Yes, it is.
Before we get to your claim, I want to know why you filed a complaint against your daughter's boyfriend.
Mr. Leloup, Sherry, like I said, Sherry doesn't talk to me and hasn't talked to me for quite a while.
Just tell me what caused you to file the complaint against him.
He was threatening me.
What did he say?
He just kept threatening me to not touch anything, get out of the house, we don't want you here, leave this house, don't eat, don't watch TV, don't do anything, get out, get out, get out. So to me that was threatening because of circumstances.
Because of circumstances. Well, it's not legally threatening.
But then I accused...
It's not legally threatening.
No, it wasn't legally threatening.
So then what did you go to the courts for?
It would have become threatening, Judge Judy, at a point.
No.
Yes,
you don't go to the court. Listen, you don't go to a court if you think it might become, in some later date, threatening.
And Judge,
what?
I've already been in front of a judge 4 different times for this very same issue.
What issue?
Her belongings.
Her counterclaim.
Her counterclaim?
Yes.
And what happened with those cases?
Well, I first received a call from the clerk asking
just a minute.
me...
Do you have...
Yeah,
I have legal documents.
We have
I wanna see
supporting
the order.
papers of all of this.
Can I see it, please?
And
Were you at any time ordered to return any of her property?
Yes, and I did.
Just a minute.
And
have
she
you
did
been
not
to court, Ms. Rapaport,
take a thing.
on the same issue as your counterclaim, the property?
Yes.
Then you had your day in court. I don't deal with that.
Your Honor, the judge wouldn't hear it. Sherry said that everything was her belongings, and he wouldn't hear it.
It wasn't supposed to be a housing court issue, and they told her that. But because it was presented in front of the housing court judge, he dealt with it.
And what was the order? Do you have the order?
To return her belongings
Can
to
I see
her,
it,
or
please?
I would be thrown in jail in 7 days. My issue is that it isn't all hers. I'm not giving her my belongings.
I can understand why no judge is going to hear this.
I pointed out that a lot of it was
A
petty.
bread box, house plants.
Those were returned to me.
Good.
I have the items that weren't returned.
She states that there's a 6-foot buffet that was hers, and it was not hers. It was never hers. And I have a statement from my landlord, who is an antique collector, stating
Just
that...
1 second.
For the
Just 1 second. Is the main thing you want this antique buffet?
No, Jim.
Well, what do you want?
I want to be able to get my belongings and go on with my life.
Listen to me.
I've worked
I'm
Judge Judy,
asking-
for 20 years for all of this.
Ms. Rapaport,
I fought everything.
Clay,
Calm down.
listen to me very carefully. You had access to the house, and some of the stuff you removed, and some of the stuff she sent
no, I
over.
didn't.
Shh, I'm speaking. Some of the stuff, according to your papers and hers, she sent over to your other daughter-in-laws. I'm going to give you an opportunity to present to me a receipt for this buffet.
It was from my mother-in-law, Judge Judy. She gave me the buffet and a hutch to match.
I don't know that.
No, and the landlord doesn't know that either.
Listen to me, Ms. Rapporteur. The burden is on you to prove to me that anything on your list is your property. And the way to do that is with receipts.
Judge Judy, she kept all of my legal papers and all my legal documents. She kept all my phone numbers, address books, and everything. I have no proof of anything because
Well,
Sherry has it.
If you have no proof, then I can't help you. Do you have, Ms. Norris, any documents in your house? I'm not talking about receipts or papers, but any documents in your house that your mother left there that you did not bring over to your sister-in-law's house?
Yes, I will give those back to her. Once all this court stuff is done,
No,
I will
want-
give them back to her. I don't
Listen to me. They're her documents. Anything that is her document is to be turned over to her within 5 days. Now, is there anything else? She said there was a computer. Did you return that
Yes.
to her?
Yes.
The computer was returned to you.
No hard drives or a power cord.
All right, good. That takes care of your counterclaim. Within 5 days, all of her papers, documents,
I have
Not a problem.
pictures of the items
Be
that are on
returned to
that
her.
list.
Put it down.
Judge Judy?
This
What?
is my
For one-
Woonsocket
Put it down.
apartment, Judge Judy.
The apartment that she was evicted from in Woonsocket, that landlord
That has
kept
nothing to
most
do
of her belongings.
No, he didn't,
Well, that
Sherry.
may be the pictures.
Those belongings come to me as soon as I have a place to bring them to. And I can get my
Ms. Norris,
landlord to
listen
vow
to
to
me
that.
very carefully. Just taking care of the counterclaim.
Okay, but
I
we
want you
have-
to listen. Ms. Rapporteur, I honestly believe that you probably need some professional help. You are a grown woman, you are a mature woman, and clearly your life has been a series of ups and downs. Oh, she's leaving. Your mother is leaving. She probably could use a little bit of professional help. In any event, she was here, she subjected herself to the jurisdiction of the court. Your mother acknowledges, based upon her own figures, that she owes you at least $1,050. I don't believe she paid you
No, she did not.
$1,150, but you don't have records. She doesn't have records. So I'm awarding you on your claim $1,050 for background. As far as her counterclaim is concerned, it is absolutely impossible to determine who owns 3 baskets. So just make sure she gets all of her documents back, and that will be done within 5 days. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Moss. Step forward, please.
Nanny Gail Martin is suing her former employer, day spa owner Kimberly Moss, for non-payment of services rendered. Kimberly says Gail abused her 10-year-old daughter, Lauren.
Miss Martin, you answered an ad in the paper for child care and light housework that the defendant had placed in the paper. It is your claim that you worked there and you were not fully paid before she let you go.
That's correct.
Okay. The defendant says you were, in fact, fully paid. Are these the 2 children she was supposed to take care of?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you answer the ad and when did you start working?
I answered the ad the first day I noticed it was in there, and there were 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And I started to work on, the first week was October the 10th, and the second week was October the 15th.
Okay, and what was the pay arrangement?
She told me, I told her what I got at my last job, and she said I paid $10 an hour. And after the first week, which was the Friday, but I had to come back Saturday, she only paid me the $300 from the first 3 days.
Well, whatever it was,
It wasn't
that's important.
enough because I had worked that first week. I
The first
worked
week, how many days did you work?
4 days.
Is that correct?
I really don't remember.
Well, if you
I
don't
was-
remember, then I have to rely on her. And the second week you worked, how many days did you work?
I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 3
And
days.
how much were you paid during that
None.
2-week period? Yes, you were.
The whole time I worked there, she paid me $300.
Okay. How much did you pay her?
When she first came to my employment, we agreed that she would get $100 a day. And
Really, not $10 an hour?
No. And-
$100 a day, irrespective of how many hours she worked?
Right.
First week she worked 4 days, and you gave her how much?
Whatever it was,
She said you only gave her $300.
well, that's not accurate. Whatever I owed her is what I paid her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Gail Martin says former employer Kimberly Moss owes for babysitting fees. Kimberly says Gail threw her 10-year-old daughter in the shower with her clothes on.
So, what happened the second week?
The second week, she was paid up. On the last day, her car broke down. She asked if she could stay with us overnight for a couple days because she didn't have transportation to and from work. And I said that would be fine until she got her car fixed. The first morning of the night that she stayed over, there was a problem. And what happened was, I was in bed. My daughter Chelsea came running to me to wake me up, telling me that Gail had put Lauren, my baby, into the hot shower with her nightgown on. So I got up and ran into her bedroom, and there she was crying, cuddled up in the corner in the hot shower. So I got in the shower with her in my nightgown and blocked the hot water from her and adjusted the temperature, and to try to reduce the trauma of what had already occurred, took a shower with her, got her out, we all got ready for school, took her to school. That is why my secretary drove her home, because if I was to confront her about it, it would have turned out ugly. So I had my secretary relieve her from.
Did you
that
put
was
the
the
child
last
in the
day.
shower?
No, ma'am, I would never do that to a child under any circumstances. Never. And if this did happen, how come she didn't call HRS? That's what I'd like to know. When she told me she
Which
didn't have
child
the
was in
money,
the shower?
The baby Lauren was.
Lauren? Come up here. Tell me about the shower.
I was in bed and I didn't want to get up because I didn't feel good, and then she picked me.
You mean get up to go to school?
Yeah. And she picked me up out of the bed and put me in the shower, and she turned the hot water on with my nightgown on.
No question in your mind about that?
Mm-mm.
Where was your sister?
She was in bed with me.
Had that ever happened before?
No.
Okay, go sit down. All right. Ms. Moss, the plaintiff worked for you for 3 days, the second week.
Correct.
Did you pay her?
I do not remember the exact amount of time that she was under our employment.
Fine. Then I have to rely on her records for those days.
That's fine.
That she was. Now, at that point, did you fire her?
That day, absolutely.
That day, she was let go?
Absolutely.
Okay. You say not. Is that right?
no, she explained to me she was going to go to Daytona Beach with her boyfriend, and that her business that she just opened, her Kimberly's Day Spa, they do facials,
Whatever.
and massages.
You were
and
told that your services were no longer
yes,
necessary.
because her business hadn't taken off like she expected it to, and that she couldn't afford it. This child that's wearing that nice little Sunday school outfit, that's not what they wore when I worked there. They dressed shamelessly.
What do you mean shamelessly?
They dressed in little Daisy Dukes with half their butt poking out the bottom, and little things with their belly buttons showing, and trying to go to school like that. They were, and makeup, and they were hellions.
And what about
They were 9 and 11, going on 17.
Go ahead.
I came back on the Monday to collect some money that she owed me from that previous week. Her oldest son was changing the locks on her house door. And I said, well, what happened? He says, don't expect to find any money here. We had a break-in. Our safe was broken into, but I didn't see any black powder anywhere. So he said, we don't have any money to pay you. So why would she have to do that if she paid me the week before?
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
ergo.
Okay. You work there according to your records, and since she doesn't have any records of her own, which she should have, a total of 7 days. I am crediting her testimony that your agreement was $100 a day, and that she paid you, according to your records, which I am crediting, $300, which means she owes you $400, and I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wagoner versus Rockema, step forward, please.
Truck driver Michael Wagoner and his wife Gabriella are suing their former landlord, foreman Shane Rockema, for destroying their furniture. Shane says the couple's accusations are ridiculous.
You rented a house from the defendant, is that
Yes.
right? He had a piece of property, and there were 2 houses on the property. You rented one house. He lives in the other.
The back house is a garage that he made into a house.
For himself?
Yes.
And what was the rent on the house you were renting?
$550.
That a pretty good rent?
Very cheap.
Why do you think it was so cheap?
Because he was, before I lived there, he had a problem with some other tenants that were there, and they had major drug problem there, and so he offered it to me afterwards. And
had you known him before?
I've known Shane for about 5 years.
And what you're suing him for is you say that he, while he was under the influence of drugs, tore down the walls in your house and ruined your furniture with dust.
Scratched up my furniture as well.
Tell me about that.
Well, on the 22nd of April, I came home and I saw a big old pile of debris out in my front yard. Kept on walking, and I walked up to the door. I opened up the door.
Of your house?
Yes, and I looked, and all the walls were torn out. Everything. I have pictures here to show that the walls were torn out.
Can I see it, please?
Mm-hmm.
On April 1st, had you paid your rent?
Yes.
Do you have your rent receipts?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
I take the utilities out of the rent, and I pay them myself. So I pay $450.
But after this happened, you only paid him $200.
Because he told me, since all the problems that he had caused me, that I only have to pay half of the rent.
And you said what?
No, and I said, okay, that's fair.
Okay, so on May 1st, after this incident happened, you said, okay, that's fair. Here's $200.
Yes, because...
Okay,
Right.
I'm just
Okay.
understanding what happened. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and so when I saw that what he had done, he walked through the back door, and he gave me this strange look, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he told me, basically, he said it had to be done, and I said, "What do you mean it had to be done? You were working on the back, and now all of a sudden you come in my house without permission, without advance warning, and just start doing this with all my furniture here?" And he said it was the spur of the moment. His exact words. Because I asked him, why didn't you cover any of my furniture or anything? And I have my furniture, all of it, showing that it's damaged, right here, all the pictures.
I'd like to see it.
My big screen TV, everything. He did not cover nothing.
Okay, now I'm ready to hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I told the...
Look at me. Don't look down. Look
Okay.
at me.
I told the plaintiff that I was going to remove the wall from the kitchen to the living room and have some kitchen cabinets made up and do some light demo. We had talked about it months before.
When, immediately prior to April 22nd, did you notify him that you were coming in? Did you talk to him on April 21st?
No, it was 2 weeks prior to that, Your Honor, because I went to Colorado to see my mother. And before I went, I talked to him about it in his kitchen.
Fine. Now you get back.
Yes.
And you decide to do it on the 22nd. Now, the last time you spoke to him about it was before you went to your mother's. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you finish that job?
I did not finish the job because the cabinets had to be measured after the wall was down. So the guy had to come in and take measurements. And by that time, he was gone.
So what you're telling me, sir, is first you knocked down all the walls and then somebody was coming to take
Not
down
all
measurements?
the walls. I knocked some of the plaster off the front wall, and that's what you see there.
Why in the last 6 months have you not completed the house?
Because I don't need to go fast anymore. We agreed that if he stayed in the house while I was doing the demo, I would do sections at a time and complete them.
Sir, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. When somebody does work on a kitchen, first they have somebody come in and take measurements. They plan it out. What they don't do is they don't take down all the walls and then say, now I'm going to get somebody to come in, and now they're going to take measurements. Your problem, Mr. and Mrs. Wagner, is that you accepted a resolution of this problem.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You let me finish. If you had said, I'm going to pay you your rent, I'm not accepting $200 for the damage that you did, then I would say to you, you have a claim. But when you accept a settlement, which is what you did, you're still stuck, but there's one thing that you're not stuck for, and you're not stuck for the fact that he trespassed on your property. because you paid April's rent. And he has no right to come into your property without giving you adequate notice, which you did not do. Because the fact that you may have said to him, if I believed you, which I don't, listen, I want to do some demolition and some light work in the house. And people who live 2 feet away from you couldn't come in and say, listen, can you get your stuff together because I'm coming in tomorrow or in 2 days to fix it. I don't believe that. You had no business being there. Judgment for the plaintiff for $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 30 on the calendar in the matter of McCahill versus Harrison. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Would you take the child out, Bert?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Young man.
Okay.
This way.
Ms. McCahill, your suit against the defendant has to do with charges that you claim were false that she made against you. You had a trial with regard to those charges. You were found not guilty.
Yes.
And you believe she should pay for all of your legal expenses that you had to defend yourself. I gather that the relationship that you had with the defendant was that she had been your babysitter for a relatively short period of time. Then you and your husband divorced, and your husband was awarded custody of your child. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your former husband hired the defendant to watch your child.
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, according to you, your child told you that during a visitation, probably, that the defendant had hit him.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to the defendant's house to confront her about that.
Yes, ma'am.
There was some sort of an incident. You say that there was really a non-incident. Shortly thereafter, you were contacted by the police and told that she had filed charges against you, and that precipitated the trial for trespass and damage to property.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant is counterclaiming for some of the damage that she says that you did to the property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did you and your husband divorce?
In April of 2000.
And when was he awarded custody?
At that time.
And when did your child allegedly report to you that the defendant had hit him?
On October 17th of 2001.
And what did your child tell you?
He arrived at my house for my birthday, and when he walked in the door, he said, Mom, Jennifer hit me again.
How old is he?
He is 8 years old.
Okay.
At the time, he was 7.
Okay.
And those were the first words that came out of his mouth when he walked in my door.
Jennifer hit me again.
Yes.
Did you ask him any questions about it?
Yes. I said, where did she hit you? And he replied, in my head. And I said, well, what for? And he said, because I would not pick up poop with my hand.
Now, when did you discuss this with the child's father?
I had discussed it with David, and he said that it did
On
not
the
happen.
17th?
No, the next day.
On the 18th of October?
Right.
Okay.
And I told him that Brennan had told me that Jennifer had hit him.
And he said it didn't happen?
Yes.
When did you go over to her house?
I went over to her house on the 18th.
And who did you go over with?
I went over with my friend. I was upset because, you know, she had hit Brendan. So I went over there to discuss it. I walked up her driveway. She met me in her carport. And I said to her, Jennifer, Brendan told me that you had hit him. And she started saying that I was crazy and that the reason Brendan acted the way he did was because of me. And after that, her and had words.
Why would you get involved in this at all?
Because when she started saying that I was crazy, stepped forward and started defending me.
And then what happened?
I was ready to go. And when we were going out to my truck, as soon as we got to my truck, I looked up and she was saying, come, if you want a piece of me, come, you know, she was doing this. She was, come on, get a piece of me. That's what she was yelling at me. And we got in my truck and we left. And we went straight to the Brighton police station where I tried to press charges against her for hitting Brendan, but was unable to because Brendan was not in my physical custody at the time.
When were you notified by the police that you were the subject of an arrest warrant?
A month later, day before Thanksgiving, I was on the phone with my mother, and my ex-husband got a hold of my mother and told her that I had a warrant for my arrest. And how he knew, I don't know. And so I called my lawyer immediately after that and told my lawyer that I had a warrant for my arrest.
Okay. Now, you subsequently went to trial, is that right?
Yes, I did.
The defendant testified at the trial?
Yes, she did.
And did you testify?
Yes.
And was there a jury trial?
Yes, there was.
And the jury came back with a not guilty verdict?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, Ms. Harrison, I would like you to tell me your version of the events, please.
Okay. On October 18th, Katie did come to my home. The incident that she is referring to, that Brendan was referring to, actually happened in June of that year, where he had stepped in dog poop out in the yard and walked into the house, and the kids are supposed to take their shoes off. And he didn't take his shoes off, and he had got dog poop on the carpet. And instead of telling the kids that they did something stupid, or I don't say that, we go, duh, what'd you do that for? And then he usually goes, yeah, duh, yeah, I did that. And that was the incident. She comes to my place in October, which is 5-6 months later, and accuses me of hitting her son and started cussing and swearing at me, telling me who did I think I was by hitting her son, and that they were going to kick my if I ever touched her son again. I said, do you want to hear the story or not? I said, I'll tell you what happened. No, I believe my son. You hit my son, and this other girl was MFing me just as much as she was, just screaming at me. And she has a background and a stability of many mental health problems. She's been in many mental health facilities, and I know what she's capable of. That's why I stood in my doorway and never even went out into the carport with them. I just had the door open trying to tell them to leave. And they would not leave. They kept calling me every name in the book, told me if I went out at nighttime, don't go out at nighttime because I would never come back home, that they were going to kill me if I ever touched her son again. I told her she was crazy. I told her to leave my property many times. At that point in time, the other girl starts with they said they were going to kick my ass. And I said, you and what army? The two of us will take you down right now. And I said, both of you just leave. That's when she kicked cabinets that were there that my husband had brought home from work. And she picked up one of my lawn chairs and threw it at me. And I shut the door because I told her I was going to call the police. Well, that's when I started walking up into my kitchen, and I heard a big bang. And I saw my neighbor girl a minute later walking across my yard. And I had gone outside. And she said, what was that? What's going on? And she
Is this your neighbor?
Yes. And she had seen Katie and the other girl go into their car. She had heard the noises. And between the time that they went to the police station, they went by my house 4 different times, screaming,
Well, what
F
kind
you.
of damage did she do in your
There was
house?
a great big dent. It looks like they punched the car. There was a great big dent on the side of my right passenger door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She stood up in court and told the judge, I want a paternity test taken on my oldest son because he's not even the father.
And was that done?
Yes, and unbeknownst to the father, he was not the child's father. And the courts gave her custody of him.
And later today,
All right, this is going to be very fast. The defendant, who was a former boyfriend, smashed your cell phone. Yes. Good. Give me a bill. On the flip side, your counterclaim is, just let me get there, sir. I mean, I have other things to do today.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy McHale says when former babysitter Jennifer Harrison slapped her son, she attempted to confront her. Kathy says upon leaving, Jennifer told police she vandalized her car.
Oh. Tell me your name, please.
Donnella Snyder.
Ms. Snyder, did you witness any of these events?
I witnessed the loud noise.
Tell me what you heard.
There's a house in between us, and I just heard this big boom. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I just went out my door, and it sounded like it came from Jennifer's house. So I instantly started walking over there, and as I was walking over there, Katie was hurrying up and getting in a truck that was waiting there, which there was a driver. And they hurried up and sped off and took off. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went over there, and I said, Jennifer, what's wrong? And she was shaking and upset, and she had the phone in her hand. And her furniture, lawn furniture, was all tousled around. And then she started telling me what was going on.
Okay. Ms. McCahill, did you touch any of the defendant's lawn furniture?
No, I didn't touch anything.
Just a second. Did touch any of her furniture?
I did. I didn't.
Did she throw it around?
She threw a chair between me and her.
Okay.
That was it.
All right. Ms. McCahill, I'm going to give you a couple of short lessons.
Okay.
You brought there for the purposes of being your support. So you are responsible for her actions.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'm glad you agree with that. So if she caused any damage and it wasn't you, it's just as if you caused the damage, because you brought her there. You brought her there to do exactly what she did, which was to make trouble. And I don't believe that you just walked into the defendant's house and said to her, "Why did you hit my son?" I don't believe you said it that way.
Okay.
I believe that there was a lot of vile language, and I believe that there was a lot of screaming and yelling, and you had no right being there. There were children there, and there are ways to deal with this kind of a problem without this kind of confrontation. You deal with it. If you can't file a police report, which I don't understand, then you call Child Protective Services.
I did.
And I assume that as a result of calling Child Protective Services, there were no charges filed. Is that right?
I tried to file charges against her. They wouldn't let me because Brendan was not in my custody.
That's not what I said. Child
Right.
Protective Services doesn't care
I went
in
to
whose
Family
custody.
Services, and they investigated.
And found what? Do
I
you have the report?
evidence to that,
Can I
yes.
see it, please?
This is the police report that I did make at the Sheriff's Department after this happened. Here, also. And this is, she did call 2 months later, in December. She called DCFS complaining about me hitting and abusing her son. And DCFS did interview her and her son and found all of their statements to be uncreditable, and they dropped all of the allegations against me. And under the circumstances with her son, who has quite a lot of mental problems also, since the child's been back in her custody, he's tried to commit suicide.
When did the child go back into her custody?
Her attorneys and his attorneys, they were in court, and both attorneys advised her to just drop the child custody suit because the children were better off left with the father. They both have another son together. She stood up in court and told the judge, well, then I want a paternity test taken on my oldest son because he's not even the father.
And was that done?
Yes, it was, and unfortunately, and unbeknownst to the father, he was not the child's father. And the courts gave her custody of him.
The court had no other choice.
Unfortunately, for his sake.
That child was 8 at the time that he found?
7.
7. He found out that his father was not his father.
Right, and tore away from his brother. He was told that when he dropped him off for a weekend visit with her the next time that he only picked up Patrick and left Brendan there.
Do you think you caused enough trouble? Don't you think you caused enough trouble? Madam! I wouldn't come to court to cause any more trouble in any event. I'm going to handle this case very, very swiftly. The district attorney chose to prosecute this case. Clearly, the judge who heard the case had the opportunity at the end of the people's case, if they felt that there was no evidence against you, to dismiss the case on an initial motion that says there is not even sufficient evidence to go forward. The judge found that there was sufficient evidence to go forward and have you present your case. So the case ultimately went to trial. The jury did not find you innocent of the charges. I want you to clearly understand that.
I have the papers right here.
No. The jury did not find you innocent, Miss McCahill. The jury found you not guilty. There is a difference. Innocent means you didn't do it. Not guilty means not proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a serious difference.
Can I ask a question?
All right.
If I was to hit a dent in a van, don't you think it would have broke my hand?
I have no idea. Maybe you used your foot.
I did not.
In any event, you trespassed on her property. You threw around her lawn furniture. You touched her property because either you or your friend did it. But since you brought your friend, you're both equally as culpable. So that she had an absolute right to pursue her legal remedy. I haven't gotten to her counterclaim yet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
this is a bill from May 25th of 2000. So this was the bill for these 2 shirts. Yeah. You keep these bills?
Yeah, got to. Never know when this gonna happen.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy McHale says when former babysitter Jennifer Harrison slapped her son, she attempted to confront her. Kathy says upon leaving, Jennifer told police she vandalized her car.
Okay. You want to continue with this counterclaim?
Yes, just for the damages done to my van.
I'd like to see photographs of it. So you have no case, Ms. McHale?
I don't have photographs. The district attorney just asked me to get an estimate for the
damages.
damages.
Well, I can't do anything without photographs. I have to make a judgment based upon the photograph. Physical evidence, not just an estimate.
I just
Ms.
have
Harrison.
the estimate and the repair bill that they repaired it.
She denies that she hit your car. In order for me to make any judgments as to whether or not this car was dented under what circumstances, I have to be able to look at it. That requires a photograph. So I'm not entertaining your counterclaim, which you would not have filed anyway, but for the fact that she filed this claim, which is nonsense. And I certainly hope that you and your son are getting as much therapy as you can for all the damage that you did. And I would Keep a low profile if I were you, Miss McCahill. Don't file any more frivolous lawsuits. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just wish she would just leave me alone.
I'm not going to have any contact with this person.
Stay away from me. She had no business ever being around me.
I have no wish to have any contact with this person.
I just feel terrible for what the boy is going through.
Brendan is doing really well. He's an honor roll student.
Really glad that the judge did take him out of the courtroom because I didn't want to have to say what I had to say in front of him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Jones. Step forward, please.
21-year-old homemaker Jennifer Jones is suing her mother, business owner Helen Jones, for the return of personal property, harassment, and for the cost of new car tires. Helen is countersuing for the cost of a refrigerator and damages to her mobile home.
I've read your complaints very carefully. Miss Jones, the defendant is your mother.
Right.
And according to what I gather from your complaint, your parents are in the process of getting a divorce.
Right.
How many years have you been married?
24.
During the course of the divorce, according to you, you sort of sided with your father.
Right.
You were living in a house, and who owned the house?
Her and my father.
You were living there with child?
Right.
And a boyfriend?
Right.
According to your complaint, you left the house, and without your permission, your mother came in and took some property that you say belongs to you.
Right.
Your mother says you abandoned the house. She went in, she took property that was there, some of which she had given to your child, and she is counterclaiming. She says that you left the house in deplorable condition. She has to buy a new refrigerator and other damages. You also claim that your mother slashed your tires and is engaged in a course of harassing behavior.
Yes.
When did you move into her house?
It is March of 2001.
And who was living there at the time?
Me and my son when we first moved there.
And how long did you and your son live there alone?
About 2.5 months.
And then who moved in?
My ex-boyfriend.
And how long did you, your son, and your ex-boyfriend live there?
Until March of 2002.
What happened in March of 2002?
I left and had moved to Carthage with a current boyfriend.
Okay, so you left the old boyfriend.
Right.
Now, when you left the old boyfriend, was he living in the house at the time?
No, he moved out before I moved.
When did he move out?
About 2 months prior to that.
What date in March of 2002 did you leave the house?
It was approximately the second week of March.
Now, when do you allege that your mother came in and took property?
I noticed the property gone April 8th. I went in, there had been a computer missing.
So 3 weeks after you moved out?
Right. I didn't even actually move out. All of my things were still there. I had just been staying with a boyfriend because
Why?
of all the harassment and everything I was getting there at the home.
Right. And what items do you claim that your mother came in and took that belongs to you?
She had called me the day before Easter and told me that she was going to get a swing set out of my backyard, and I okayed that. She then called me the day after Easter and told me she had went into the house, which she had no keys to, and took a children's four-wheeler and a wagon out of the building.
She took those things. Are those the things you want back?
Well, and then when I got there were several other things missing also.
Like what?
There was a compact computer. There was a brand new Kenmore dishwasher.
Whose computer was it?
It was mine.
I have proof where it was Clinton Todd's.
Well, I have the statement that he signed and give to me that he give that to me.
What else?
A Kenmore dishwasher. There was a race car collection, a deep freezer, and all the rest of the
Well, we're
items
talking
that
about
went
months later, Miss Jones. If you moved out and you're living with a new boyfriend, is this the new boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, you can't just leave it there.
I left the things there. My father was staying there with me, and I left the things there for him to use until I got another place.
So there was somebody else living in the house?
Right. He was staying there on the weekends.
Somebody else who had access to the house?
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
Now, you acknowledge, Miss Jones, that you took the swing set, the bike, and the wagon.
Yes, that's all I took.
And that was, you say, because?
I paid for it. It was to stay there. She met this guy on internet. He is married and he has 4 kids. I didn't buy it for his kids. I bought it for my grandson. They were to stay there whenever if she ever moved out, and she wanted to take them, and I said no.
That's not true.
Well, you didn't give them to her. You gave them to your grandson.
Right.
It's the wrong thing to do, because I know, I have grandchildren, so I know you didn't say to your grandson when you gave him the red wagon or when you gave him the bike, you can have these as long as your mother is living here and doesn't move away to live with somebody else. You didn't say that to him.
No, the reason why I put that in because she has bounced from home to home, from boyfriend to boyfriend.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Jones claims her mother, Helen Jones, burglarized her home and slashed her tires. Helen says she entered the trailer because Jennifer abandoned it.
Now, your grandson's got to have his swing set back and his bike and his wagon because those things belong to him.
Well, the reason why that I had took them, we went to the mobile home, the back door was standing wide open. That's why I took the things, because I didn't want nobody to take the things.
Okay, so at this point, those things are going to have to go back to your grandson.
Okay.
But your mother says she doesn't have anything else, Miss Jones. What proof do you have that she took those things?
There was a statement filed with the police department there where they had retrieved some of the items that her son had went in and stolen from me, that he had stolen even some of her things that she had loaned me out of the house.
Just a second. What proof do you have that your mother took any of those things?
Nobody else had access to the house.
That's not true. Your father did.
The door's standing wide open.
Just a second. Your father did.
Right.
He had a key to the home, right?
Right.
You said your mother didn't have a key.
Right.
May I add something?
Who are you?
I'm the boyfriend.
Well,
and a
step up
witness.
if you have something important to add, but just make sure it's important. What's your name?
My name's Mark. The thing with her father, there's an ex parte between her father and her mother at this time. And so he would stay at the home on the weekends as long as he could until the harassment got so bad. And the harassment was so bad and stuff that her dad found another place to stay when he was in at different times, kind of just staying with who he could to try to make peace through this divorce that they're going through.
So far, I don't hear much from you, sir. Just a lot of chatter.
But when we were there,
Yeah.
there was a phone call placed by her mother, and her mother were in a pretty good argument.
Just a
And-
second. Her mother called and said she wanted to go take the swing set.
Right.
So she
But-
called you and asked you if she could take the swing set, and you said
Only
okay.
the swing set, right.
Okay, but you said okay. So
Right.
she didn't not ask you if she could take the swing
Right.
set. She just made the phone call, got your permission. Listen, get to the facts. I have a very busy calendar.
Okay. And she has some pictures here that shows a lot of the damage to the yard and to the shed. And the damage to the back door was not there the week that we went there. But the only way she would have had to go into the house would be to tear up the back door.
Well, I don't know that.
And
She
that's
says she
what-
found the door off the hinges. Isn't
The
that
door
right?
was
That's
wide
what you.
open. It wasn't off of the hinges. It was left wide open.
And there's a police report that states the door was pried
Right, it
open
was
and
pried
pried
open.
hanging.
Maybe your ex-boyfriend came back. Maybe your ex-boyfriend wasn't happy that he left you the computer when he found out that you had taken off a couple of weeks later with somebody else. There are a lot of people who had the opportunity either to go into your house or to break into the house. It's not your house, the house. And all I'm asking you for is proof that it was your mother. Do you have any?
Other than that, she just told me she is the one that went in there and took some items.
She acknowledged she took 3 things. Is that right?
Right.
Did she ever acknowledge she took the computer?
No.
She ever acknowledged she took the dishwasher?
No.
She ever acknowledged she took the race car collection?
No.
How old are you?
21.
How old is your son?
He's almost 2.
Is the person that you were living with in the house that child's father?
No.
This man certainly isn't the child's father.
No.
Is that right?
Right.
Listen, you have a child. That child is entitled to have a certain amount of stability. Is entitled not to go from one boyfriend to another, to another, to another until you find yourself maybe when you're 40 years old. So you got a lot more to worry about than a dishwasher and a race car collection. You got to worry about a 2-year-old that you're supposed to be bringing up properly and setting an example for. It doesn't seem to me as if you're doing that. Oh, God. Okay. What proof do you have that your mother slashed your tires?
I had come down and stayed a couple days with my father at a local hotel, and that day they had been driving by, flipping me off, cussing me.
Who was they?
Her and her sister, her son. This was right after they had
How
stolen.
old is her
his-
son?
He is 17.
Is that your brother?
Yes.
Well, then your brother. Not her son. It's your brother.
And her also. They was
Just
all
a second.
together.
It's not her son. It's your brother. So your mother and your brother and your aunt. What were they doing?
They would drive by, flip us off. They would scream things. Her and her boyfriend would circle the parking lot. The next morning I got up. The passenger rear tire of my car had been slashed.
So other than the fact that they were there the night before, you have no proof that your mother did that.
There would be nobody else that would do that. I mean,
it's very possible your mother did it. It's very possible your brother did it. It's very possible your aunt did it.
She
You
has
understand?
no friends or family, so.
I mean, do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's possible. But that's not what we deal with in court. We don't deal with possibilities. We deal with what is provable. Now, you want to tell me about this counterclaim you have for the refrigerator and the damage to the house?
I have proof here of everything that's been done to the home, and from Clinton Todd that he took the computer and the dishwasher.
But he gave those to, we had bought some other things together that were paid off, and we sat down and made an agreement, and I have it where he had signed it, what he took, and he said that would be fine since he took the things that were paid off.
Let me see yours. Did you tell him at that time that you had met somebody else?
I hadn't met him when, I didn't even know him when we had separated.
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true. No. Ha, listen to me. That's not true. Who has the Pontiac Grand Prix car?
I do.
You working?
No.
How are you paying for a car?
I
do. Listen to me. Don't give me an I. How are you paying for the car?
I was working for my father.
But you're not working now, and you didn't work last month. How did you make the last 2 payments on the car?
I made those payments.
Baloney. Baloney. All right, show me the refrigerator. I mean, that's the main thing that we're talking about. Open.
Right.
Right. Oh, she's a slob.
Yes.
She's a slob.
I have the pictures of what they done to the house when they went in.
Just a second. I'm not even looking at the damage to the house, because I can't tell who did the damage to the house, because the house, according to your mother, was open.
Right.
So we don't know who went into the house.
Right.
Right? Could have been your soon-to-be ex-husband. It could have been Mr. Todd, who got angry when he went to retrieve his stuff. Just like I said to your daughter, you need proof. I don't need any proof for this. This is pretty disgusting. Whoever left the refrigerator in this condition, really just a pig. But we don't know whether your daughter was the pig or your husband is a pig. It could be that your father's a pig. It's either one of the two of you. Either you're the pig or your father's the pig. But since we can't prove that you're the pig, I can't award your mother any money on her counterclaim. So your mother is going to see to it that your son gets back his swing set, his bike, and his red wagon. The remainder of the complaints are dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Reininger versus Lignar. Step forward, please.
Nurse's assistant Eva Reininger and her husband, mechanic Raymond Reininger, are suing their neighbors, landscaper Brad Lignar and his wife Deborah. The Reiningers claim the Lignar's dog, Sammy, destroyed their backyard.
Mr. and Mrs. Reininger, it is your claim that the defendant's dog damaged some property of yours. Tell me about that.
Somewhere around the 2nd or 3rd week of February, we found the dog wandering around our home.
What kind of dog was it?
Black Labrador. We saw he had a tag on with a telephone number on it. So we took the dog in, and I made a phone call. The phone number that we called was disconnected. I looked on the computer on a reverse directory, and I found the address. We went to the home. We noticed that there was nobody home. It was about a mile away from our home. And we had left a note that we had found the dog.
And you kept the dog in your house?
In our backyard. We have 2.5 acres fenced in. 2 or 3 days, we kept going back to see if anybody was there. We had also called animal control to let them know if anybody phoned in that they had a missing dog, that we had him. Finally, on a Monday, I had gone by the house again, and there was a car in the driveway, and I asked them if they were missing a dog, and Mr. Lignar said, yes, you have my Sammy, and they have a big fenced-in yard, and he said, our problem is he keeps jumping out. At that point, I said, would you like to come and get him? He says, well, where do you live? I said, about a mile down the road. At that point, he said, no. He says, just open the door, let him out, tell him Poppy's home, and he'll come home by himself. So I was on my way back, and then I saw Mrs. Lignar coming to get the dog. So we stopped in the street. The dog went and got in the truck with her.
Okay, so she actually then came to the dog.
Yes, she was on her way there. A week, 2 weeks went by. All of a sudden, we look in the backyard, and there's Sammy scaling our fence in our backyard, and now he's got a longer piece of chain attached to him. So he was with us again for a couple of days, and by now he had started.
Did you call them again?
Yes, we did. We tried calling, and nobody was answering. So at this point, I was starting to get a little fed up, and I said, this is ridiculous. They had told us the last time that they had gone to Daytona for 4 days, and apparently the dog was left unattended for 4 days while they were away. At this point now, I had already contacted the humanitarians who I work with. I work with Animal Rescue, and I work with several animal organizations. They were all willing to come and take Sammy if they did not want him. Now, we started noticing he was digging huge holes in the backyard, and he was digging out our shrubs. And now he was at the point where he was jumping over our fence and jumping back. Then we had a phone call. We had a message on our answering machine from Mr. Lignar saying, I know that you have my dog. I'd like you to bring my dog back. So We brought the dog back, and I guess my husband met with Mrs. Lignar and said, your dog has done several $100s worth of damages to our shrubs, our hedges, our fences, our bushes. You need to have someone come over and take a look at the damages. Well, they never came back. Well, Sammy must have come back 2 or 3 more times and kept jumping over our fence. At one point, we had him in our screened-in porch while he went through our screen porch. It's 2 years old, and it was custom built. The final straw was 2 o'clock in the morning. He came over our fence again, and we have a doggy door because we have 4 dogs of our own. Well, he came in through the doggy door, and he jumped into bed with our 4-year-old and our 2-year-old and scared the living daylights out of them. And to this day, we cannot get our kids to sleep in their own bed because they're terrified that this dog is going to come in and scare them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eva and Raymond Reininger are suing their neighbors, Brad and Deborah Lignar, for damage to their backyard. The Reiningers say their dog, Sammy, is the culprit.
Go ahead. We have estimates. We have pictures of the damage of what the house looked like before Sammy, after Sammy. And what we did was we just went to a local gardening store and got estimates on how much it would cost to replace the plants and the shrubs. And we got an estimate from the people who did the screen on how much it would cost to repair. These are the before and after pictures of Sammy. And these
How
are
old
the
is
estimates.
Sammy?
I believe they told me at the time that he was a little over a year old.
Okay, who's going to speak for your family?
Me, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to hear you.
Well, the dog got loose when we were in Daytona. My daughter was coming over to feed my animals. Okay.
How many animals do you have?
I have 1 black lab and 2 cats.
And the black lab was kept outside?
Yeah, he was outside dog.
Never comes in your house?
Nah, he comes in. She doesn't like because of the dog here and stuff, but I sneak him in.
So the dog was outside day and night when you were away?
Yes.
Didn't you ever hear of a kennel?
Yes, ma'am.
So what's wrong with a kennel?
Well, he protects the house if anybody tries.
It's not protects the house if he's not there.
Well, somebody let him loose.
No.
Oh, yes.
Well, they didn't let him loose.
Well,
They didn't let him loose.
one of the neighborhood kids has let him loose before. You know, 'cause-
So if you know that happened before, then you should have taken steps and used a kennel.
well, what I can't understand is they said Sammy turned around and broke the chain. Well, I have the dog's chain right here.
Well, we didn't have a ghost dog. It was your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
They did not go and get your dog. So why didn't, when they presented you with these bills, why didn't you take care of them?
I wasn't home at the time.
Well, what makes you think you're not responsible for these bills?
I don't see it's my dog's doing it. You know, maybe once or twice, but, you know, they have pictures every day that they said it was my dog. There's neighbors got other black labs, and they have a female black lab.
So?
Now, how do I know their dog didn't do it?
You don't, except if they say so. Did the Chronicles ever call you and indicate to you that they could place the dog?
No, she did not. If she did, she got somebody else's phone number.
Well, let's go back to the first time they came. Mrs. Reiniger says that the first time she came and said she has your dog because she had to go and find you, you said, well, just open the gate and tell him Poppy's home and he'll go home. Does that sound right to you?
No, I told her, I said, where's the dog at? She says, my house, chained up, in her backyard. Well, if you were going to get rid of a dog...
So what did you tell her to do?
I told her, unchain the dog, tell him to come home, he'll come home. If not, I'll come down and get him.
Is that stupid?
No.
I mean, is there something wrong with you? Your dog's been missing, you're gone. Somebody, total stranger, goes to the trouble of finding out where you live.
This was the second time.
I'm talking about the first time. Finding out where you live, coming to your home and saying, we have your dog, we've taken care of your dog while you've been on vacation in Daytona. Okay, we've taken care of your dog and protected your dog. Wasn't hit by a car, was fed, was cared for. And instead of you getting into your car and going over there and saying, thank you very much, I'm sorry for any trouble or inconvenience, you say, oh, just open up the door, let him go, tell him Poppy's home. What the hell's wrong with you?
I don't know where she got this Poppy stuff from.
Probably from you.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah, right. And it kept happening again and again and again. So clearly, something was wrong with the security system that you had, unless you believe that these people came and stole your dog out of you.
They might have done that, too.
Are you under psychiatric care?
Yeah.
Huh?
No.
Are you under psychiatric
No.
care? You on any medication?
No.
And then you're just being a smart mouth. Where is Sammy now? How is it that he hasn't been back to your house in how long?
It's been quite a while.
Where is he now?
She had him, my wife had him.
Put to sleep.
Why did you have him put to sleep?
While all this has been going on, I had taken Sammy to get him neutered. And when I took him in to get him neutered, he was diagnosed with heartworm. So I had to have him put to sleep.
You don't put a dog to sleep who has heartworm. You treat him.
No, they said it was too
They said
too
he
far
was
gone.
into the advanced stages, so.
Well, if he was in the advanced stages, it means you weren't giving him heartworm medication, which you're supposed to give your dogs. That's what dogs get, heartworm pills. So you don't, especially they're outdoor dogs. Why weren't you giving the dog proper pills?
We were.
If a dog is getting heartworm medication regularly, they do not get heartworm. Unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Reiniger, you're only suing for $470. I say that unfortunately because these are the most irresponsible people that I've met in a long time. That's just damage to your yard and your property and not for the trauma that Sammy caused when he just came into the room. He didn't hurt your children, but he came in the middle of the night. Your lawsuit seeks $470. Judgment for the plaintiff. Don't get any more dogs.
Parties are excused. You may
Commercial pilot Doug Moeller is suing his neighbors, Roger and Jackie Stevens, and their son, 17-year-old Brian. Doug says Brian purposefully damaged his daughter's bicycle. The Stevens are countersuing for the cost of a bike and damage to their screen door.
Mr. Moeller, it is your claim that the defendant's son damaged your daughter's bike.
That's correct.
The defendant says that he caused no damage to the bike, and they are counterclaiming because they say that their daughter's bike was stolen from your backyard and it's your fault. B, that your son tore a hole in their screen door. You weren't there during this bike incident?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
I'd like you to sit down.
Okay.
And your children up here. Now, you weren't present either, is that right?
Correct.
So you can sit down, leaving the alleged perpetrator standing. When did this happen?
Around midsummer last year.
Tell me about the day.
We went over to see my cousin that we always play with.
You have to speak up because I can't hear you. Tell me your first name.
Timothy Moeller.
All right, Timothy, keep your voice up. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, go ahead.
Brian started jumping up and down on the bike.
That's Brian.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the bike?
I was sitting on it. I've never seen a bike like that before, so I was testing out the shocks.
Testing out the shocks.
Right.
And how, Brian, were you testing out the shocks?
I bounced up and down on the seat a couple times and lifted the front tire off the ground about 2 inches and then let it go.
It was a girl's bike, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a boy's bike.
Yeah.
Big or little?
It was big. It was a 20-inch.
Your Honor, could I give you a photograph of the bicycle as
Yes,
evidence?
I'd like to see it.
This is a photograph of the bicycle with the bicycle license, and it shows that these are actually children's bicycles. Quite a bit smaller than an adult would be riding.
Mm-hmm. Small?
I didn't think it was.
Small?
Okay.
Okay. Who told you you could get on the bike?
Nobody.
Can I see the wheel, please? How old are you?
17. I
So,
was
get a
16
job
at
and
the
pay for the wheel. Wheel's all bent. Wheel's all bent. Would you step up, sir? Okay. We'll make very quick work of this part of the case. Your son got on a bike without permission, tested out the springs, didn't ride it the way it was supposed to be ridden, and they say as a result of that the wheel was broken. So?
Well, according to my witness, my daughter and my son, when he got off, it was still on the kickstand. She got back on it. She rode home on it. We felt that if he had done it, she would have went home. If she'd have done it right then, she'd have went home and told her father, hey, Brian just damaged my bike. But the story that we got is that the next day or so, he noticed the damage, came to the children and said, what happened to your bike? We're not sure. We think maybe when Brian was on it, you know, and so we just don't feel that he did it. It may have happened later. And,
Well, what you feel is irrelevant.
Okay.
Relevant facts are he got on a bike without permission. He was testing the shocks.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He jumped up and down. I mean, at least he's telling the truth. Now, when you went to ride the bike home, did you see anything different in riding the bike?
The bicycle wheel was rubbing up against the side of the bike.
And did you feel that before he had gotten on the bike to test it?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, so now I need the bill. I mean, it's not malicious, it's not terrible, but you pay the bill. $106, is that what it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, let's get, what?
Your Honor, could I speak for just a second, please?
Sure.
What we've heard here is in a large part a fabrication. In fact, I'd like to call Michelle Stevens as a witness, if I could, please,
Just a
Brian.
second, sir, you just won your case. Why do you have to call
Well,
anything?
I know, but there's a little bit more than $106 involved here.
What?
It cost me $27 to file this in small claims court in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And there was more damage to it than just the wheel. The handlebar extensions were damaged, the pedals were damaged, the bicycle seat was torn up.
But I asked for the bill to fix it.
Yeah, you got the bill.
You
That's
got
correct.
the bill, $106.40.
That's correct.
That's the bill that you gave me.
That's correct.
So?
Well, I guess that's the end of the story then.
That's the end of the story.
All right.
You just
Okay.
won. Sit.
Very good.
This is not a major toxic waste pollution case.
I understand.
A bent bicycle wheel. All right, let me get to the bottom line of your case, which I've read. Let me see if I understand it. Your daughter was playing over at their house. The plaintiff wanted to go someplace. And according to you, he said to the kids, why don't you just put the bikes in the backyard? The daughter put her bike in their backyard. The bike was stolen. And based on that, you believe it's his fault.
His responsibility.
No, that's wrong. How old is your daughter?
13,
So she had the capacity to say, I'm going to go put my bike in my garage?
which she did. And he said, no, just put it in our backyard. We won't be gone very long. And both of the girls' bicycles got stolen.
You want to go further and tell me about this torn screen?
This is just
When did that
what I
happen?
get from the kids. This was last summer.
Did you tear the screen in Mr. Stevens' house?
No, ma'am.
You have a witness with regard to the torn screen?
Yes. My
I'll
son.
hear you, Brian.
I was inside the house, and these two kids and my sister were inside, and I was trying to watch TV, and they were being loud, so they went outside. I locked the door, so they were locked out. I heard a noise at my window, and I opened the curtain, and Timothy was there with a stick poking a hole through it.
Did you poke a hole through the screen? Did you replace the screen?
No, but I have an estimate to have it replaced.
You went through a whole summer with a screen with a hole in it from a stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Get a patch. I can understand why you're aggravated, but it's unfortunate that people who had a rather pleasant relationship have any tension because of this. That's your fault. They're all a lot younger than you are. So the first thing that happened was you locked your sister and her two friends out of the house because you wanted to watch television in peace. Is that what happened with the screen? Stupid. Then you got on a bike, jumped up and down on the bike, not your bike, and bent the wheel. Also, stupid. As a result of that, two families, which had, I assume, gotten along reasonably well together if you let your daughter go with the plaintiff before, have any kind of friction now. Very, very stupid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $133. The counterclaims dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 25 on the calendar in the matter of Ramirez versus Garza.
Thanks, Bert.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Ramirez, is it Ramirez?
Yes.
I'd like you to sit down, sir.
Thank you.
You and the defendant have two children together.
Yes.
Were you ever married?
No.
But you are now married to this gentleman.
Yes.
Your claim is that because of false charges that Mr. Garza filed against you, you were forced to incur substantial legal fees and debts. False charges with regard to child abuse. He filed those complaints with Child Protective Services. And you want him to reimburse you for all of the expenses that you incurred as a result of these false charges. Is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Garza says that he merely reported what he saw and what his children told him. Right now I'm going to need a time frame. When did you and Mr. Garza separate?
I believe it was in 99.
And how old are your two children?
6 and 4.
So they were really tiny. They were a year
Yes.
old and 3 years old.
About 3 years old.
When did you remarry?
December 16th of 2000.
And when was the first report of child abuse?
Back in 2000.
When in 2000?
In August of 2000.
All right, so let me go to Mr. Garza. Mr. Garza, when did you first make a complaint to Child Protective Services?
It was back in August 2000.
And what was the nature of that complaint?
Well, pretty much child abuse. My kids were talking about how their stepdad would, slap them or hit them or, in that nature. I have papers here from the Child Protective Services who state
From
that-
August?
From May of 2001.
Well, let me take a look at it, please.
I also have police reports here and medical reports.
I see various letters. In some of the letters it says that they determined back in May of 2001 that the family, that is your family, does require our service at this time. I don't know whether they spoke to the children or not. So what you're telling me is in August, one of your children, probably the older one, was telling me that they were hit, but hit by the stepfather. And you reported that.
Yes.
What was the next report?
Well, after that, my youngest son, Isaiah, he came over and he went to the bathroom, and when he was urinating, he has a habit of he'll drop his pants down to his knees, and I noticed some bruises on his buttocks. And he had said that some ants had bit him he was afraid to say it, so he had said that some ants had bit him. Finally, he came out and said that, yeah, that stepdad had, hit him with the black sandal, There was some bruises on there.
And did you make a report at that time?
Yes, I
You
have a
that report.
medical reports from the physician that saw him.
Can I see the report, please?
Yes.
Now you can stand up, Mr. Ramirez. Well, this second report was called in by the hospital, according to the doctor's notes, because the doctor found bruising noted to both buttocks on the child. Okay. Mr. Ramirez, did you back sometime in 2001 hit one of the children, the older child, on the behind?
Isaiah, the smallest children, he was going through a lot of problems at daycare concerning when he would come back from his father's house. We tried disciplining him with timeouts, taking toys away from him, name it. It got to the point where we couldn't take it anymore. They didn't want him at the daycare. Took him home. I spoke to him. I spanked him. Next thing you know, I'm getting arrested because his father put charges on me. I got a paper here stating that...
No, I'm not finished yet. You spoke to him, and how old was he at the time?
He was three.
Three. So he was 3 years old.
The daycare was getting ready to kick him out because they didn't want him there anymore.
I'm speaking. He was 3 years old. So you spanked him.
Yeah.
With what?
With a belt, ma'am.
With a belt?
Yes, ma'am.
On his buttocks?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have to attend any classes, Mr. Ramirez, as a result of this investigation?
No, we had a homemaker come and give us parenting classes.
Well, that's parenting classes. So you had to have services as a result?
Yes, ma'am, but from an hour and a half classes, it dropped down to 20 hours because the homemaker found it wasn't necessary, that we didn't need those classes.
Well, you do need the classes. If you think that it's appropriate to beat a 3-year-old with a belt, causing bruises sufficient to be noted by a hospital, then you need a lot of parenting classes, more than an hour and a half. 3-year-old child who was going through a state of mother, father, new father, visiting one, there's a certain amount of acting out behavior. What you don't do is you don't use an instrument ever on a child. Ever. You used a belt on a 3-year-old. That is unacceptable. Period. End of discussion. It's unacceptable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me very carefully. Your husband just admitted he beat your 3-year-old with a belt. He abused him.
Spanked, not abused.
Beat. Abused. You should have taken the belt and wrapped it around his neck.
And later today...
Miss Jones, you were trying to get over on the system, madam.
No, I wasn't trying to get over on the system, Judge Judy, because when I called there, they told me, don't bring the ticket yourself or we're going to take the money.
I wish you had the name of that person who told you that. I think that you probably ought to sue them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Ramirez says the father of her children, Eloy Garza, falsely accused her of child abuse. Eloy says Veronica's husband, Juan, hit his son.
Miss Ramirez, I don't have to go through this whole case anymore. I have just solved this whole case. You are suing for filing false charges against you. False charges of
Actually, the
abuse?
false charges and the custody hearing that we actually went through for the past 2 years.
Well, why do you think you would be entitled to legal fees from him for a custody hearing?
He sued me for custody of the children because of that incident.
Yes.
We went through about 2 years of a custody battle. It got to the point to where he decided he didn't want custody of the children anymore.
So?
He wanted me to agree not to move out of the city we were living in, and he wouldn't fight for custody. He wanted a social study done. We had the social study done. The lady came to the house. She did interviews on both of us. She did interviews on the children. In the social study that I have with me, she states that he seems lovable with the children. The children are lovable with him. She didn't see any problems with the family together. She felt that the children should stay living with me.
So?
We went to court. He had moved to Corpus because he was living in Corpus already working. He was away from us about 3 months. He put temporary orders on us not to leave the county. The judge spoke to the children to see whether they felt safe enough to move out of town with me to Corpus with him, or if they wanted to stay in Harlingen with their biological father. The children stated to the judge that they wanted to leave to Corpus with us.
Let me explain something to you. I don't know who this judge was who interviews a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old to make a determination as to where they want to live. I never did that with a 4-year-old. Where would you like to live? With your mommy or with your daddy?
We also have him right
Anna,
here. He states that he has evidence that there was abuse.
There was abuse.
When?
Period. There was abuse. I'm finding right here that there was abuse. And you have no case to sue him for filing false allegations of abuse. Your husband abused your 3-year-old. You should have taken the belt and wrapped it around his neck. That's what you should have done. And I don't know what other issues the defendant has with you. However, any father who would not at that point fight for custody would be neglectful. So he had an absolute obligation to file for custody of his 2 children. And then the thing dragged along for 2 years because this judge had to wait until the kids were 4 and 6 in order to interview them.
No, it didn't drag on that long. It dragged on that long because he kept putting it off.
Maybe. But I don't care what the social worker said. I want to tell you something. I don't care what the social worker said. It is irrelevant to me. The mother's husband beat the children, but the children seem happy and safe with the mother. Father never beat the children, so we think that the children should stay. We think the children should stay with the mother. I mean, I don't understand a report like that. In any event, I'm not having to decide that case now. All I have to decide is whether or not he should be responsible for the cost of all of your legal fees as a result of fighting both his custody case and the case that he filed and the orders that he requested, preventing you from moving out of the jurisdiction, relocating.
I also have a letter here from the police department where they took the children to the police department, and the police even put in here where they were trying to bribe the children to tell the police that they were being slapped.
Listen to me very carefully. Your husband just admitted he beat your 3-year-old with a belt. What do I care about the police report? Your husband looked at me. I asked him a question. He answered my question. He beat your 3-year-old with a belt. He abused him.
I spanked him, not abused him.
Beat. Abused. 3-year-old, belt, abuse. That's it. Marks from a belt on a 3-year-old is abuse. That's not neglectful. That's not neglectful. Neglectful is if you don't give him a hot lunch. Neglectful is not when you beat a 3-year-old with an instrument. So you are not entitled to the return of any of your legal fees matter.
In the Penal Code, Section 961 states that the state declines prosecution in this case. The defendant is allowed to use forceful to reasonably discipline a child under Section 9.61 of the Penal Code, and there is insufficient evidence to show any other intent by the defendant. That's
I hope you feel better. If you appeared before me and you said to me, I lost my temper once, and I hit him with a belt.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Wait, that's not what you're saying.
No, you asked me.
No. I lost my temper once, and I hit him with a belt, and it will never happen again because that's not me. I know that's not the way you're supposed to discipline children. But what you just read to me, sir, was an indication that you believe that this is an appropriate way of disciplining children.
No, it's not, ma'am.
It better not be.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Let me tell you something. You're not going to get the money from him.
Why? He signed me a promissory note stating...
I don't care if he signed you the Declaration of Independence. Courts do not help you when you try to scam the system.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Ramirez says the father of her children, Eloy Garza, falsely accused her of child abuse. Eloy says Veronica's husband, Juan, hit his son.
Ms. Ramirez, you have no case. The defendant did exactly what he should have done as a father by reporting what he saw. He did exactly what he should have done as a father by fighting for custody. He did exactly what he should have done by trying to prevent you from leaving the jurisdiction and relocating. And if he lost on all those counts, that's very unfortunate. But he had not only the right, but the obligation to do it. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think it went right.
Worked out good, I guess.
His false police reports, taking the children to the police department, filing false reports. I have all of that documented, all the false reports that he made.
Nothing else better to do, I guess.
I even have the reports where the police say that they were trying to bribe the children by telling them they would give them things if they said this.
So as soon as I saw, bruises going on, I knew I had to get in and do something.
My children see him as their father.
They're little, 3 and 5,
So that shows what type of biological father their father really is.
He's never around.
No, I've been involved with their lives all the time.
I might have used excessive force, which I regret doing it.
Let the real parents do the discipline, not the step parents.
Be careful who you get involved with.
Go back to my country club and eat a po' boy sandwich.
Now, this is case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Townsend versus Johnson-Jones. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Townsend, you own a car.
Yes.
And your car was parked in front of your house.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't see what happened, but all you know is somebody hit your car.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And One of these two people were driving that car that hit your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
October 19th, about between 6 and 7.
Tell me where you were.
I was inside my house, and I heard this big crash. I got up, went to the door. By the time I made it to the door, two of my neighbors were at my door saying, someone has just hit your car. You need to come outside. So I went outside, looked at my car, and it was smashed in on the front and just stuff all over the place. So I looked.
You mean debris?
Debris.
Car
That's
debris.
right. That's right. Debris was on the street and on my yard. But the second car wasn't anywhere around. So I went back in, called the police, went back out to look at my car again, and we seen debris going around the street.
So you followed the
we
debris?
followed debris around the street to another car, which was probably about, it was the next block. The next block, that car was there. It was all smashed in. It was not able to go any further.
Did you see anyone around that car?
I seen Miss Johnson and her baby. Her baby was in
This
the back
lady?
seat. Yes, ma'am. Her baby was in the back seat. She was standing on the outside. She was crying. She was all upset. She got her.
There was a baby in the car?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
her car.
The baby was in the back seat. She got the baby, put it in a restraint.
Also in the seat? In the car?
In the car. Not in the restraint, in the car, on the back seat. She took the baby out of the back seat, put it in the restraint, and she, in the little baby car seat, she set it on the street. And I forgot, someone said, you need to get that baby out the street. So she got the baby out the street, and by that time the police come. When the police come, Mr. Dennis...
this gentleman here?
Yes, this man here and his mother come up.
Now, he wasn't there when you first got to the scene?
No, he was not there.
Okay.
Okay, he was not there. He and his mother come up. The police officer was talking to Miss Johnson first. She was all upset. She was crying. When Dennis come up, the police officer was asking them, why did he leave? And he was saying that her father was trying to kill him. He had wrapped the seatbelt around his neck, and they were fighting, and he was trying to get away from him, which made him put his foot on the gas and run into my car.
Okay. And that's all you know about this?
And that's all I know.
Okay.
So, well, there's one more thing. Dennis said that he would pay for my car. They said they would pay for it. They were sorry about it, but they never have. She has insurance on the car, but the insurance refused to pay for it because she was not the driver. He was, and he doesn't have any license. So that's why we're here today. I feel like they need to pay for my car.
Who wants to talk first?
I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I was standing in the front yard. My dad chased him down the street and grabbed
Chased who down the street?
him. He was driving.
Is he your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he the father of this baby?
Yes, ma'am.
That was in the back seat of the car?
Yes. And the baby was in a restraint, but by the time she'd gotten there, I'd gotten the baby out of the car and was sitting in the back seat holding the baby. And then when the police were starting to arrive,
let's
I
start
took the
from
baby.
the beginning. Your father is chasing him.
Yes.
Chasing him from where?
From my house.
Where was the baby when your father was chasing him?
In the back seat of the car.
What was the baby doing in the car?
Because me and him and the baby were fixed to leave, but I went in the house, and when I come back out, my dad had started chasing him, and Dennis was leaving to try to get away from him.
Okay. You were planning to leave the house?
Yes.
Where was the car parked?
In the street in front of the house.
Who brought the baby outside?
We had just come to the house. We had been off, and we were going to go back off, but I was stopping at the house to get something, so I had just had
So
her
the
in
two
car
of you
with
had
me.
just driven to your father's house?
Yes.
From where?
I believe we were at the movies.
You went to the movies with a baby? How old's your baby?
She's 17 months.
So you don't remember where you were coming from?
No, ma'am. A lot of stuff happened that night.
No. Now, you were just stopping off at your father's to get something?
Yes.
The baby is in the back seat of the car?
In a car seat.
I hear you. The baby is in the back seat of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Who got out of the car first?
I did.
From what side of the car?
The passenger side.
So Mr. Jones was driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I never got...
I didn't speak to you yet. And the car is registered in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
You live with Mr. Jones?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
At my parents' house.
And where does he live?
At his mom's house.
Does Mr. Jones have a valid driver's license?
No, ma'am.
No. So why were you letting him drive your car?
He bought it.
Why doesn't he have a driver's license? If he has enough money to buy a car, why doesn't he have enough sense to get a driver's license so that he can drive it?
I don't know. I don't...
Has he been arrested?
No, ma'am.
Has a DUI?
No, ma'am.
He owes child support?
No, ma'am.
Then why don't you have a driver's license?
I don't know, man.
What do you mean you don't know? Did you ever have a driver's license?
No, man.
What do you do for a living?
Heating and cooling.
Heating and cooling.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you made your money from to buy this car?
Yes, ma'am.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you filed tax returns? Look at me. When was the last year you filed tax returns?
Probably 99, 2000.
Don't you think you live in a country that has rules and regulations? Now, how would I know to ask you that question? Because somebody that's stupid enough not to have a driver's license and drive a car is also dumb enough to work and not pay taxes. And I say that to you, sir, because of the defense that you registered in your answer, which I find fascinating. I'm going to get to the thrust of this story a little quicker. You went inside, your father started to have an argument with the two of you, or just with him?
Him.
About what?
A statement that Dennis had made that he said was false.
You mean that since your father was doing something wrong?
Yeah.
All right. So they had an argument?
Yes.
And then Dennis did what? Did he run out of the house?
He wasn't in the house, he was outside.
Still in the driver's seat of the car?
Yeah.
So your father ran out and grabbed him?
I wasn't outside at the time.
Oh, now Dennis is going to tell me. So what happened, Dennis?
She went in the house, he come out, and he started fussing on me and stuff. So I crunched the car up, put it in gear. About the time I put it in gear, he was right here at my window, finna hit me. But I give it a little gas, and he grabbed my seat belt. And I looked down, when I, was going down the road, he was running right beside me. When I looked down to grab the seatbelt off my neck, because he was pulling it tight on me. And when I looked down, boom, I hit her car. Which her car was like 3 foot away from the curb and unlegally parked.
That's his defense, Bird. His defense is he's not responsible because her car was parked the wrong way on the street.
Oh,
that's his defense.
That's good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving.
And later today,
He said that he had gotten himself arrested for a mistaken identity, is what he told me.
He got himself arrested for a mistaken identity?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the last time I looked in the penal law that was a crime.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janice Townsend claims Leanne Johnson and her boyfriend, Dennis Jones, hit her parked car and fled the scene. Dennis says Leanne's angry father was chasing him when he lost control of his vehicle.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving. And you, who don't have a driver's license, who's not allowed to be behind the wheel, is not responsible. You want to explain that to me? If you weren't doing the wrong thing and driving a car, this wouldn't have happened.
That's true.
That's true. Oh, you have a picture of the damage to the car, please? This is not a new car, right?
That's right.
But you're entitled to have your car in the same condition as it was before
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wonderful over here hit it.
Yes, ma'am.
So even though it's expensive to put your car back into condition, you're entitled to it. How long have you been working at this heating and cooling company?
For about a year.
You paid in check or cash?
Cash.
Cash. Well, you better start saving your cash. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,692.05. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was thoroughly shocked.
Yeah, I feel bad that it happened.
My car was sitting in front of the house.
I'm sorry can't get along with her now.
Minded its own business. When they were fighting, they hit my car.
Don't be driving.
Justice.
Yeah, this is case number 12 on the calendar in the matter of McDonald Klein versus Bortz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. You folks have seats, please.
Well, I want to tell you, trying to figure out this case made me a little dizzy. So I'm going to test out the facts on Officer Byrd, see if he can get them from what I understand the facts are from your papers. You're Terry.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's Jillian?
Yeah.
According to what I understand, Jillian made the stupid mistake of bringing $6,000 in cash to school one day. Is that right, Jillian?
Yes.
You were going to buy a car?
Yeah.
Terry offered to give you a ride.
Yeah, he told me he would take me to get it.
To school?
No,
And for the car?
To get the car.
And you go into school, and you decide to leave the $6,000 in Terry's car.
Yeah.
You come out and find that from the $6,000, there's $4,800. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Terry says, I don't know where the money is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You go home, you tell your brother, and you probably tell your father and what happened. And you and your brother decide to go over to Terry's house to confront him about the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You claim that when they came over to your house to confront Terry about taking her money, that he, the brother, Christopher, took a bat and bashed in
I didn't even bring a bash. Oh, I'm sorry.
And bashed in your car.
It was my mother's car. I was the adult at the house at the time.
Bashed in the family car. They say that when they got there, Terry and somebody else came out and started to bang on their car. They want damages that it is alleged that you did to their car and their house. Do we understand that now?
I got everything you said.
Oh, God. That took me a while to figure out.
I'm glad I got the Reader's Digest version.
Now I'm going to start with you. Why would you bring $6,000 in cash to school?
Okay, because my mom was going out of town and she was going to buy me a car because I have a son and like my car didn't have air conditioner, and I was just excited to get it.
Just give me the Reader's Digest version, as Bird says.
Okay, so I went to the bank and just brought the money to school because he said he'd take me, so I left it in there so that because like people
In
go
where?
through into Terry's car.
Where in the car?
Under his seat, because I drive his car to get lunch every day, so I was taking his car, and so I just put it under the seat in there because at school people go through your stuff, and I didn't want it taken at school. So.
All right, now Terry, did she show you how much money was in the envelope?
I didn't find out that she placed the money in my car until after we ate lunch, and she still had the keys.
Ma'am, during third period, that's when I got to school because I don't have first two periods. When I got to school, I asked Terry, I'm like, Terry, I have $6,000 with me. I don't want to carry around. Can I please put it in your car?
Talk slower, please.
Sorry. So I asked him if I could put the money in his car. He gave me the keys. During third period, I went and put it in his car, and then I had the keys again until lunch. So he knew I put it in there way before lunch.
During third period, she was telling everybody, yeah, I'm going to go get my car today. I'm so happy. And she said, I'm looking for Dwayne, which is one of my friends and like her boyfriend. So I'm looking for Dwayne. I said, why are you looking for Dwayne? So I need to hide my money in his car. I said, you can hide your money in my car if you want to. She said, no, that's okay.
No.
And about her saying I was going to take her to go get her car after school, I said that for a brief moment, and at the same time I said, oh wait, I have weight training after school, I can't do it. She was with Dwayne after school when she came to the weight room to ask us if she could look at my car, because Dwayne was taking her.
Ma'am, they weren't having weight training for a couple weeks, and then that was the first day they started having weight training again. He didn't even know till after his weight training class, which was like right before lunch. So he didn't even know till after lunch that he couldn't take me.
How many people did you take out for lunch?
There was 2 people in there. I was in the car the whole time. It was under my seat.
But there were 2 other people in the car. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So now you find the money is missing. You go back home.
No.
Tell me what you did after you found the money missing.
He said he had weight training, so I went back to the school because he had weight training still, and I wanted to look in his car. And so, because Dwayne took me since he said he couldn't, and me and Dwayne went in there, and I asked him if I could go through his car, and he went through it before I did, you know. He's like, oh, no, it's not in here, and just locked his car.
So what did you do the next day?
We went to his house to ask him about the money, and he has my brother's amplifier. It's for a stereo.
Okay. Now you can tell me what happened when they came to your house the next day.
Okay, Your Honor. About 12:30 Saturday, there was like a loud bang on the door, and we all were like, what is that? And my brother's friend opened the door and said, it's Dylan and her brother, you know, they're mad. And they're screaming, all the neighbors are coming outside because we're standing at the door. I'm telling them, you need to go. Then I saw that he had a bat. And I said, you need to get out of here right now because you have a weapon, you know. And that's when they got mad. They left. They were calling us, and we're coming back with a gun. No. I mean, my witness, I have a neighbor here that lives right next door to us. She saw the whole thing. She was on the phone with the police. Then we started hearing a bam, bam, bam.
Now I'm shooting.
If you say another word,
I'm sorry.
You better worry about the other arm.
And,
you understand?
Hold on.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How was I going to hurt you if I call you a name? And I didn't even call you the name.
No, I never said.
Hey! stupid. Shut up.
I'm just trying to
That's the third time I told you.
Whatever.
Not whatever.
Your Honor, he never directly called me and just...
You don't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
You know, he's got mush in his brains.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Annalisa McDonald and her brother Terry McDonald claim Jillian Bortz and her brother Christopher Bortz vandalized their car with a baseball bat. Jillian says Terry stole $1,200 from her.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when I came outside, I saw the neighbors, a couple of neighbors outside, and they were all on their phones calling the police. And I saw my brothers at the end of the apartments chasing after them, and they, you know, they were in their cars.
I missed this.
They were like already, they were speeding off. And so, and then I looked around the corner, I saw the car, and I was like, oh my God, you know, I have the pictures here, and it's obvious it was beaten with a bat.
I'll take a look at the pictures. Now, what better grasp can you lend to this, Terry?
All right, my friend, I asked him to go get the door because he heard the beating at the door. He said, Terry, you need to come out there. I went out there, and Jillian was standing there with her brother. And the first thing he's, give us the money and give us the amp now. I'm like, so at that point I'm mad because first she's accusing me of stealing money. It's the second time I've heard it. First time it was just her mom talking to my sister. And we're mad. I'm like, get out of here. We ain't got your money, this and that. And he said, yes, you do. Give us the money. And so he steps in my sister's face. So I get him out of my sister's face. I step in front of him.
How did you do that?
He was all in her face. My sister saw he had a bat. You guys need to get out of here. So I'm like, so he started getting in her face. That's when I stepped in front of her. And that's when he had a bat the whole time. I wasn't worried about it. I had my friends here. You guys need to
How did his hand get broken?
Yeah, explain that one.
Yeah, I will. So we were mad.
Just
but
a sec.
All right.
Shut up.
Oh, I knew you were going to tell me that. All right.
Go ahead.
So everybody was cussing and exchanging words and snap.
How did his hand get broken?
We don't. He says it happened. Well, you get to it.
You're the one with the grasp, Terry.
Right. It's all a story I was trying to lead to it. And so he left down the stairs. He was going downstairs with his sister. We closed the door and went back inside. And they're like, Terry, put your shoes on. And then, whoosh, the windows, we hear windows getting busted. So we all run out the house. He's running with his bat, running away to his truck. She's running to her car. And me, my best friend James, and my brother Randall are running after him. Randall, the only one that even got close to him, and it was after he was already in the truck speeding away. My brother had a broomstick, a plastic one, and he just swung at hit the back of the truck, hit the cab part, and then that was it. He sped away. We were all mad. We didn't find out.
No idea.
We didn't find out. He said his hand was broken until the cop told us. If I was going to beat him up or something, he would have been real beat up.
Now, I want to know how this happened to the car.
It's my turn. Okay, we went up there. We asked for the amp and the money. They all come to the door. She's calling us white trash, all kinds of names. They come with a pool stick. They all
Who's they?
Him. He's the one that hit me. He hit me with the pool stick. He swung for me. I ducked, hit me in the hand, broke my hand. I mean, you can see it, right? So at that time, we're running away. I see something on the ground, like a piece of wood or something, because they live upstairs. It was downstairs. And I'm just trying to defend myself. I mean, I'm so angry right now, and then I just start swinging at their car. This happened after, the car happened after the fact that they broke my hand.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
That must have been painful for you, too.
It was painful. I should be suing them.
Just a minute. You didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
That must have been really painful to pick up a bat or a piece of wood after your hand is broken and swing the bat at least 10, 12 times in order to cause this kind of damage to the car. That must have been real painful.
It was only 4 times.
But when there were 4 times that it was painful, is that right?
It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't?
Not that bad.
Because your adrenaline's pumping and you don't pay attention to what's going on.
Really? Where did you get your medical license? I'd like to hear the witness. Who's the witness? Could you step up, please? Could you tell me your name?
Tiara Young.
Miss Young, you're a neighbor?
Yes.
So tell me about it.
At first, I just thought they were just an argument. I didn't get involved with the police until he called them several times. Then I heard Annalisa say, I know you don't have a bat. What are you going to do with the bat? So I didn't get involved until I heard bat. And then there was mention of I have something else for you, kind of as if he had a gun. So I called the police. It seemed like he was instigating the most. So I went downstairs to try to see the license plate number or what type of vehicle, because I knew their physical description. I was watching through the blinds the whole time. That's when I walked up, the first time, it didn't really sound like it was something hitting the car, kind of like the dumpsters right by our building, so it seemed like maybe somebody was just throwing trash in the bin. When I turned, that's when I saw him with the bat at the car. I did not try to stay to see him beat the car in anymore. He had already called them. I was just trying to get out.
How was I going to hurt you if I call you a name? And I didn't even call you the name.
No, I never said
Hey! Stupid! Shut up! That's the third time I told you. Right?
I'm just trying to...
That's the third time I told you.
Whatever.
Not whatever. Is that your father?
Yeah.
Believe me, he's not pleased with you right now.
Not too.
Your Honor, he never directly called me.
You don't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
You know, he's got mush in his brains.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Annalisa McDonald, and her brother Terry claim their car was vandalized by Jillian Bortz and her brother Christopher.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miss Young. You have a counterclaim for damage to your car, your home, and the return of the money that was stolen. Let's get to the damages to your car and your home. Who wants to report on that?
I can.
Go ahead.
Okay. I had to file a police report with the school about the money, and they gave both of us a copy of it with both of our addresses on it. The same day that they gave him a copy of it, my house, it was just my dad was there. They threw a brick through our kitchen window.
Who did?
It was them. His friend James, his best friend James that he just told you about, his truck was identified there by 2 different people.
James?
Yeah, James.
Just a second.
Okay.
James? That's not him.
Yeah, but they identified them.
Who's they?
2 neighbors.
Are they here?
No, they're not.
What's next?
My dad knows more about what happened that night. Then my
Was
dad
your father
just
at
called me.
home?
Yeah, he was at home. It was 1 in the morning.
Mr. Bortz, is that your last name?
Yes.
Can you tell me what you saw?
I was asleep. I was awakened a loud banging noise. And a few minutes later, a neighbor had drove up in her house. You can see through the kitchen window. And I just glanced that way, and I see the kitchen windows broken out.
But you didn't see who vandalized your house?
No, I did not.
Did you see who vandalized your car?
No.
Did that happen on the same night?
This was the same, yes.
What happened to your car?
Same thing. Large bricks or rocks thrown at it.
Was there any witness to that?
Yes.
Is that witness here?
No.
Have there been any arrests in that case?
I have no idea.
But you plan on pursuing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Judge, about that same night, me and my brother were in our bed asleep at 2 in the morning. The cops came, asked us about it. Yeah, there's been, told us that there was a kitchen window broken in.
I wouldn't say anything if I were you right now.
Oh, but they cleared it. I mean,
I wouldn't say anything if I were you right now. That case may not be over. Jillian, so let's talk a little bit about your money. I don't know who took your money. I know that you don't put money in a car, in a school parking lot. Use the car, take people around for lunch, talk about the fact that you're going to buy a car, and then ask a court to make a determination that without any proof whatsoever, any direct proof, that somebody is responsible for that money being missing. The person who's responsible, the only person I know who's responsible for that money being missing is the person who was foolish enough to take it to school and to put it under the front seat of a car in a school parking lot. That's you. So I can't reward that with a judgment against Terry on your counterclaim because there isn't sufficient proof. The only thing I do know is that you and your brother is clearly a hothead, went to their house. And I may not necessarily fully believe these 2 people because they have a little bit of an axe to grind with this whole thing because they had the interaction with you. But I believe Miss Young. I believe her when she says there was nobody who was hitting you with bats and pool cues. I'm speaking before your brother smashed out the car, which he acknowledges that he did. If you hadn't put yourself in that position in the first place by going over there with your brother, we wouldn't be in this mess. Can I see an estimate for the damage to the car,
I have
please?
the estimate and the breakdown of the cost under it.
Now, I assume that on your side, the person who assaulted you, if you claim that you were assaulted and you broke your hand, you were assaulted with a deadly instrument, I assume that you filed a police report and insisted on an arrest. Is that right?
I did not.
Why not?
Because I was leaving the next day to go back home.
Tell her how
What difference does it make if you're assaulted?
I tried to go in, I live in Hawaii. I tried to go down there to the police station. They said, just take care of it here.
You have
They
to
said
take care of it
They
here.
said they can't do anything down there because it's in Hawaii. It's a different, it's separated from Vegas.
You go to the police and you
I
say,
did
I
go
was
to,
assaulted.
that's what I just told you. I went to the
I was
police
assaulted.
station.
I want to pursue the matter. You have a father. How old are you?
19.
You have a father. You say, I'm filing a complaint. I want the person who assaulted me to be punished. I want them arrested. They assaulted me.
Well, I didn't do that.
Well, that's what I would do. If somebody assaulted me and broke my hand. In any event, I'm dismissing your counterclaim. You did absolutely the wrong thing by going over there. Mr. Bortz, I don't know who it was that caused the vandalism to your house. I assume that you have an open complaint and that the police will follow up on that complaint. This is not an old complaint. So I assume that if they find after interviewing witnesses that this young man had anything to do with vandalizing your house, you will pursue that complaint, as well as pursuing the complaint with regard to your son's assault. I mean, I would be more worried about it if my son's hand was broken than if my window was broken in my kitchen. Right? Of course. As I said, I don't know who took the money, but you're going to get your deductible paid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Suing Maribel Herrera for car damages after her 17-year-old daughter's friend crashed into Usuri's.
Court coming to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1140, Shubin versus Herrera.
Ms. Shubin, I'm going to start with you very briefly.
Okay.
Because my reading of the case, as far as I'm concerned, you know very little about what happened, that you parked your car on the street and went into your house. Don't tell you how? Yes.
Yeah.
Because she can take down. You don't know your car except that it was destroyed while parked.
Exactly.
Right. And tell me when this happened.
Tentatively at 11:45 p.m. on August 29th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Were you sleeping?
I heard a loud crash, and it was over in the direction in which I had parked my car. So I ran outside, pantsless, went over without my phone too, and saw that my car had been decimated. I actually have photos if you'd like to see them.
I would.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So when I went over there, okay. I also have a car crash as well.
You do?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Here. You can just press play.
What year make of this car was it?
So my car is a Jeep Liberty 06 Limited. I also have a photo of what it looked like prior incident.
When did you purchase the car, Ms. Shubin?
I purchased it around December of 2018.
Do you recall the price?
So I purchased it for $5,360, and I have a photo of what it looked like prior
Can we
to
have
it being
some,
run
please?
into.
Also have video.
I'm only the third owner.
Yeah. I see the video. Thank you.
It was immaculate.
Let me see your head.
So my neighbor recorded it.
Oh, no, you bleed bad, boo. You bleed bad. Oh. High bottles. She's bleeding a lot. Sit down, mama. Sit down, sit down, sit down. Let me. Yeah. You too. Man, you guys. I don't care, It's okay, so I'm finna call. I'm finna cut this off. You guys, look. Ambulance, okay?
Okay, and the car was totaled?
Yes, yes. Okay. That was the determination of the auto body shop.
Now, Ms. Herrera, there.
I was not.
On the evening of August 29th. But you own the car, that you are the titled owner of the car that hit her car. That would be a yes.
I actually am not.
Who is?
The car was given to my daughter as they move around because she just had a baby.
Ms. Herrera?
Yes.
Where's the title to the car?
I have it here.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor, I do have...
Shh, don't speak. Who owns the car?
My daughter's in-laws purchased the vehicle from that person.
Just a second. These people are the... Somebody bought your daughter a present. Let me understand this. Mm-hmm. Somebody bought your daughter, who's how old?
She is 17 now.
Somebody bought your daughter 17. What month and year did they buy her the present?
I believe it was August...
What date?
Call right now, but I believe it was August, the beginning of August of 2021.
Why didn't they transfer title?
I did do that online.
Well, then let me see the paperwork of you doing it online. Just a second. Let me see the paperwork of you doing it online.
I have paperwork that says that she is the insured on the...
To see it.
Correct, yeah.
That is the team.
I'd like to see the paperwork she did online, and I'd like to see that. So what, you're telling me these people, you did a title?
Yes.
And you changed the title and insured the car in whose name?
My name.
That's what I asked you.
But I was trying to explain when I did the paperwork online, when I switched over the title to my name, everything went through. I have the emails there of everything that I did online. But at the end of the day, they did not put it under my name because I still owed a fee, which I couldn't do at the time.
I don't care. So the car was yours and you had insurance on it and you filled out the paperwork and you swore in the paperwork that the car was yours and it was being gifted to a minor.
Right.
Right. Okay, now I don't have to see anything. Return that to everybody.
Also, I have the paper that...
No, didn't ask you anything. We understand each other. You're her daughter? Yes. Your father's family gave you this car?
No, my fiance's.
Now I'm leaving you, Miss Shubin, for a moment.
Okay.
And I'm going to try, the two of you stand up. Because it's true that your mother wasn't there on the night of August 29th when you had the car.
Correct.
17.
Yes.
And you have a child.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is that child?
He is now 5 months. He will be 6 months this month.
He's 5 months old. And
no, Your Honor.
Who do you live with?
I live on my own, Your Honor.
Where does the father of this child live?
He's incarcerated at the moment, Your Honor.
So, he's facility?
Yes.
For what?
Honestly, I don't really have too much information on it.
When did he go to a state facility?
From what I was arrested on September 29th.
Prior to September 29th, when he went to jail, who was he living with?
He was living on his own, Your Honor.
Did he have a new girl?
No.
So this is what I gather from what your mother wrote in the answer to why she's not responsible for the Dibbins car. And she had to have gotten this story from somebody. And I assume she got it from you and your friend whose name is Jasmine. On August 29th, your son was visiting with his father. This is what the story your mother tells me is. That's either a yes or a no?
No.
Okay. Who told your mother that story?
I think she misunderstood.
No. Who told your mother that story here? She says, and it all sounded odd to me, that her son was with his father for the night. She had to get that from you. So that was yes or no?
Yes.
She got a call that there was a domestic dispute at her father's house. So that was a lie.
Yes.
So would be you.
Yes.
Needed to get there quickly. So all that you now understand, Miss Herrera, is a lie.
That was
just a second. That's says she told you, and that's what you wrote in the answer, in your sworn answer. I'm going to read what you wrote in your sworn answer.
Okay.
His 29th file, it was hanging out with her friends. Her son was with his father for the night. She got a call that there was a domestic dispute at her father's house. So Violet quickly, she drove over to her son's father's house and brought her friend Jasmine with her. That's what you wrote. I mean, I'm not psychotic. I didn't make up the story out of the air. I didn't pull it out of my shoe.
Uzuri Shubin is suing Maribel Herrera for car damages after her daughter's friend crashed into Uzuri's vehicle.
Now, that's what you wrote. So if you wrote that, either you made it up, Miss Daughter told you that story. So only two answers. Don't give me any other answer. That's your daughter told you what happened, or you made up that story. Which
I wrote it wrong because I did not say that.
Well, your daughter just said to me that that's what she told you.
No, that.
Just a second. Just a second. No. Would you read that, baby? I'm mistaken. I said to her, did you tell your mother?
You asked her who told your mother that story. She said, I think she misunderstood. You said, who told your mother that story to it? So was that a lie, yes or no? Answer, yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to come to you. Your mother wasn't there.
No.
Papers.
I'm trying.
Your mother wasn't there on the 29th of August. So just a little bit of background on you. What do you do? Do you work?
Your Honor, I do go to school.
What school do you go to?
I go to charter high school.
Who takes care of your son?
My father does, or my aunts take care of my son while I'm at school.
Your fiance's in jail.
Yes.
So who takes care of your son?
I do.
Who does he live with? When did you move out of your mother's house?
I believe it was sometime in May, but I don't have an exact date for you, Your Honor.
What was the reason house?
My family's household, there was just a lot of people, and now that, we had a baby, it was just, we kind of wanted our own.
Who's the we?
Me and my fiance.
How old is he?
He's 20, Your Honor.
Is this the first time he's been incarcerated?
Yes.
Tell me what happened on the 29th.
What happened was I went out. At the moment, me and my fiance were separated.
Okay, and he was living else?
Yes. And I went out because I was just having an emotional roller coaster. And I went out with my friend.
That's Jasmine?
Yes.
Where did you go?
We went to the area that we were in, where the crash happened.
Now, you went to the area with, and?
And right there, that's when we started drinking a little bit. Then it was around 11:40, where I got a call from a relative that was taking care of my son and saying...
What relative that was taking care of your son?
Fiance's cousin. And I had a call. She called me saying that I needed to come pick up my son. And there was other acquaintances with me.
Who was with you?
There was just two other acquaintances.
Who?
I honestly don't really know them. It was just kind of,
Were they in the...
Yes, they were.
In addition to Jasmine?
Yes.
Were these two people that you had picked up at a bar?
No.
Where were you doing your drinking?
It was by across the street yard.
So in the car?
Yes.
So the alcohol was in the car?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Who brought the alcohol?
It was one of the...
That was a male acquaintance?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so, yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that one of the male acquaintances that I saw in this video who was...
Yes.
I'm listening.
And after I got that call, I went to go pick up my son, and the other acquaintances were not. At this time that I got the call, we were already outside. And I told them, like, let's go. I need to go pick up my son. I'm going to take you guys home. And nobody really listened. So I just got Jasmine, and I told her that I am going to trust you. I'm going to go get stay there because...
Just a second. So you were going to, at midnight, go to your boyfriend's cousin's house, who were for your son.
Yes.
And you were going to stay at the house.
Yes.
Instead of going home.
Yes.
So you let Jack give her the keys to your car.
Yes.
And you all had been drinking.
Yes.
And one of the boys stayed in the car with Jasmine. Or did she back Jasmine to pick him up?
I went back to go pick them up.
So she went to the cousin's house. She got dropped off. Either you drove or she drove. One of the boys from where the graveyard, where they were drinking in a graveyard. And then you were driving?
Yes.
And you crashed into her car.
Probably like 6 miles per hour.
And you crashed into her car.
Yes.
After you crashed into the car, did you stay at the scene?
I had.
Yes or a no?
No.
You took off with the boy in the car.
Yes.
And you left and took off with the boy in the car because there were holes in the car.
Yep. Yes.
That's what she says. She had to get that from someplace. Did your daughter tell you that story? That's either a yes.
Yes.
What happened to your car?
It was towed from the place. I did call the police that night.
Just a sec. What happened? It fixed?
No.
Wasn't fixed?
Was not. It was totaled.
Did the insurance pay you for the car?
No, Your Honor.
Did you put in a claim?
I did.
With that claim?
They denied it.
What did you tell the insurance company? Because the insurance company didn't pay her.
At all.
Just a second. The insurance that didn't pay her. Do you know why?
Yes.
Why?
Because I did not know at the time until 2 days later that policy of my insurance had expired or was terminated on the 29th because my full payment didn't go.
You paid $5,360 for this car 3 years ago.
Yes.
Did you get another car?
Not yet. I'm still looking. Yeah.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,360. Let me tell you this.
Your Honor?
I understand you want emotional distress.
The car rental, that would be nice too, because I really do want to rebuild my vehicle, and the auto body shop estimated that it would be about
Right, $5,360.
Your Honor, sorry.
Down. What I'm telling you is this. You already have an irresponsible daughter. She's 17 years old. She has a child. The boyfriend that she decided to make this baby with at age 15 and a half is now in prison.
Maribel Herrera's 7 and her friend of crashing into her parked car while drinking and driving.
Okay, you let her drive a car. You're her mother's car. You did the paperwork putting your name on the title. If her fiance's grandparents decided to give her a car, let them say, I don't want to have any part of this. My daughter is irresponsible. She's demonstrated she's irresponsible. She's demonstrated by her history and certainly going out with underage people and drinking in a graveyard and then turning the car keys over to somebody who is alcohol. I would say that I have an irresponsible child. Just a second. And if you didn't want to be held responsible for it, you shouldn't have done the paperwork. You think that my daughter is mature enough to have the responsibility of a car? You put the car in your name and you get the insurance. And you say that to the people. You don't put it in your name. She has to have somebody to say, make me whole. Jasmine, who drove drunk because she's a minor. Your daughter's not going to do it. She can't take care of herself. She makes bad judgments, and you're the grown-up. You gave her the wherewithal to drive this car. Yes, you did. You filled out the paperwork, and you evidently under your name. Under your name.
Correct.
Correct.
But she was not allowed to touch that car. She took it without my permission.
Madam, you gave her the ability to drive that car. You put it in your name, and you insured it. And this has to have a donkey to pin the tail on. She can't say, well, it's not this one's fault, she's a mine's fault because of this. She has to have somebody. And you're it. It didn't have to be you. It could have been the people that gave her the car. Said, I'll put it in my name and I'll insure grandpa of this incarcerated father. They could have said, I'll put it in my name. I want her to have a car to get back and forth. And would have been fine. Then you helped her. You're the grown-up in the room. 5360, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
I was irresponsible for what she did.
I really do love my car, and I took such good care of it. So for it to end up in the condition that it sucks so bad.
A green Camry ran me off the road, and I tried to make a right, and that's when I crashed.
It was catastrophic. It sounded like why it woke me up.
Right now, I'm just not responsible enough to have a car of my own.
I'm thankful that my car was there because the velocity of where if they would have hit the building behind it, they possibly wouldn't be here anymore.
I'm glad that I wasn't in the car, knowing my son was in the car.
I appreciate her just understanding that situation, and it's just been hectic and crazy, and I'm just thankful to have some resolution.
You know, when I saw that title from that case, it should really find my title. I know I put it in a safe place, but I just can't quite remember where that safe place is, but it is a very important document, so.
Yeah, welcome to a senior moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look for it when you go home. People don't realize that being the owner of a car gives you a certain responsibility. You're supposed to exercise judgment about who uses that car. And if you have a child who acts irresponsibly about other things. This is not the first time. This wasn't the first rodeo for getting alcohol and going to sit at the cemetery and drink. Then you have to be careful not to have your that. Because ultimately, your 17-year-old or your 16-year-old isn't responsible because they have nothing. Somebody has to be responsible for an innocent victim and usually fall at the feet of the person who has the money to pay for it. So you have to be about lending your name to somebody else's potential irresponsibility. That, to me, is the takeaway.
Yeah, I agree.
Bills and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated.
Judge. Case number 1168, Ordonez versus Curry Clausen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ordonez.
Yes.
You bought one dog, gentleman, in 2019.
Yes.
From which gentleman?
I had actually bought it from both gentlemen. Their business, BH, presented it to me as an entity, so I paid Ethan and
Just a second.
Cooper.
Your complaint says that in September 2019, I bought it from Ethan.
Yes.
So can we keep it simple and consistent with what you wrote here?
It should have been BHB.
Well, it's not BHB. BHBs are not appear in court without a lawyer.
When they had sold me the dog, they had presented it as a real company. So I had...
Can I...
Yes. So when I received...
Don't say anything. Just give me the paperwork. Do you have a copy of her contract?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
They had orders, so I wasn't able to see anything.
Was Michelle Montfort?
It was my married name. I put O on top. But when I paid her off, I should have been given the UKC papers, which
Don't tell me shoulda, woulda, coulda. I don't care shoulda, woulda, coulda. This says that you paid for the dog.
Yes.
And 50%
breeding rights.
Breeding rights.
Which meant that...
Just not really, but it means that if you breed the dog, that I assume that whoever is Ethan, that would be 50% breeding rights, which means that you get to breed the dog once and she does, or you get 50% of the litter. What does that mean?
I would split the stud fee with her, go half with it, and then I would get half of the litter. So let's say she had 10 puppies, I would get 5 and be able to...
To make that clear, that's not what this means to me. With regard to Dolly, and you still have Dolly.
Yes, I do.
Rid of your counterclaim, because your counterclaim is for the return of a co-owned dog, right?
Yes.
You don't co-own this dog, co-ownership agreement. So that takes care of your counterclaim. There's nothing in this contract that suggests that you co-own the dog. Good. Now, Dolly is still alive.
Yes, gladly.
This is, your last name is?
Curry.
Curry. And are you partners?
Yes.
You also sold second dog.
Yes.
That wasn't in 2019, that was in 2021.
Yes.
And you two became friends.
We've been friends for a long time. I want to say since I got Dolly, maybe a couple months before that.
2019.
Yes.
That's a year and a half.
By the defendant to buy a dog as a friend.
You bought another dog.
Yes.
From him. Same breed.
Same breed.
And they're?
From the same kennel. It's actually long.
No, just tell me, what kind of dog is it?
Oh, it's an XL bully, American bully.
Is that a pit bull breed?
It's a pit bull mixed with a Stafford. So they're probably about this tall. And they get up to about 160, males probably like 170.
Okay. You have two. You have one that's 2 years old and you have a new puppy.
Yes.
You also...
Well, the puppy is deceased.
Yeah, I know that the puppy is deceased. Well, that's what your case is about.
Yes.
You became friendly with Mr. Curry.
Both of them, actually.
Just interrupt me again.
Sorry.
And you were moving. You were moving with whom?
With my children and my husband at the time.
How many children do you...
Sons.
And you had a husband?
Yes.
And so you were moving from where to where?
So we were moving actually into an apartment because...
Don't tell me because you were moving from where to where?
From my home to an apartment.
Were you renting the home?
At the time, yes, I was.
What were you moving?
I moved in the Beginning of August, the end of July.
What date were you planning on moving?
I was trying to of August, but it so happened that I moved a little bit earlier.
Was Mr. Curry supposed to move into your house?
Yes.
Is that the arrangement that you would? Yes. And was he going to pay you rent?
He was going to be paying partial rent, yes.
How much rent?
At the time, I think I told him $600.
She told me $1,800. I gave $900 upon my deposit, and the next.
When did you give her the $900 deposit?
About a week or two prior to.
There is no contract.
On what date?
There is no contract. It was.
I didn't say contract. I never used the word contract.
Okay.
You said deposit. On what date were you supposed to be moving in?
I believe it was around the.
Don't say I want believe.
26th of July was around approximately. Where she was still there and her kids.
Now you also have one of these dogs.
I have 3.
All the same breed.
Yes, ma'am.
All American bullies.
Yes, ma'am.
You and all 3 dogs?
2 live with my mom and 1 live with me.
So you had 1
at the time
that you were moving into the house with.
At the time, yes.
What do I care about the rest of your life? I don't even care about this portion of your life, but it's my job. So you were moving into this house that she was vacating. Dog.
Yes.
That's an answer.
Okay.
I don't care how many cats or dogs or canaries your mother has.
Well, I own them.
I don't care. I don't care. You had 1 dog that is relevant to this case that moved into her house.
Correct.
Sick dog.
Now, I tell you,
sorry,
it's getting towards the end of the day. I'm getting testy.
Ordonez claims her friends, Cooper Curry and Ethan, for the cost of a puppy and vet bills.
Now, the dog was sick.
She had just been released from the vet, so she was no longer sick.
The dog's name is?
Carmela.
What was wrong with her?
She had parvo.
When you say she had just been released from the vet, name of the vet who cared for her?
Animal Kingdom.
Is that the regular vet?
Yes, ma'am.
How long was Carmela at the vet? When she left the vet after 3 days, she had been diagnosed with parvo. What were her symptoms?
She was just not very dog-like. I don't know how to explain it. She wasn't loving. She was just sickly.
What was she like when you took her out of the vet?
The vet called me and...
What the vet told you?
Get her.
Don't tell me what the vet told you.
The dog was in prime condition to come home.
The dog seemed fine.
Yes.
The Animal Kingdom, you have that number?
Yes, ma'am.
They would tell me that the dog was released and had been tested free from parvo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Sarah, do this for me, please. Take that number, go in the roving kingdom. Tell them that you're calling from Judge Judy Scheinlin. We're calling about Cooper Curry's pup that was released from Animal Kingdom end of July of this year. The dog had had parvo. Would you find out whether the dog was free from parvo when the dog was released from the vet?
Sure.
Would you do that? Thank you. And if you have any problem with them, let me know. Mr. Curry was supposed to move in to your home, and you were supposed to...
We were in the process of moving, yes.
Mr. Curry came to your house with his dog. Did you have a conversation with him?
He actually came unannounced and no action with him before he came.
Did he ever discuss with you that his dog had had parvo? Look at me.
No, he did not.
Did you? Yes, he did. I'm going to ask you again. Did he ever discuss with you that his dog had parvo? Make sure I get...
Right. No, he did not.
Okay. So you have 2 of the same kind of dogs, and you wouldn't have left your dog sick.
Never.
That looked sick, correct?
Correct.
So his dog didn't look sick.
No.
Played with your dogs?
Yes. And asked him to watch the dog.
I know that. Played with your dogs? Appeared healthy.
Correct.
And that was on what day?
I want to say from the 24th through the 25th.
So you had a full day to see them interacting and to see how his dog would. And then you left. And you left him with your 2 dogs.
Yes.
So you left him on the 25th with your 2 dogs. That was by arrangement.
If I could leave
the dogs. Fair. And when did you come and get the dogs?
The next day. Within the next day, the dogs will not stop, excuse my language, and throwing up everywhere.
So that's the 26th?
Yes.
So you came back
Correct. And I picked up both dogs.
She didn't, Your Honor.
When did she come back?
Her baby daddy picked him up, and it was about 2 or 3 days later.
Her baby what?
My baby's father. My ex-husband.
Okay.
Because she would not answer the phone for 2 or 3 days.
So she didn't come the next day?
No.
And neither did...
I had a housekeeper come and clean the house of all their throw up and poop while they were ignoring my calls.
That's funny. I had a housekeeper.
Okay. Do you have any phone with you which would show the messages on
I actually got a new phone.
Everybody gets a new phone when I ask them for proof. I got a new phone. My phone fell in the toilet. The dog ate the phone. My husband smashed the phone. My wife threw it out of the car. Whenever you came, the day after, did you come personally or did you send the father of your baby?
So he was threatening.
Just answer the question.
The dogs.
Okay. And when you went to get the dogs, did you take them immediately to the vet?
I took them the next day.
Why didn't you take them?
Because I didn't know the severity of what was going on. They looked groggy, but I didn't know exactly if they were sick or not. So I had set up the appointment.
Were both dogs fully inoculated?
At first, they were just acting like themselves, and then they just started deteriorating.
Listen to my question. Both dogs fully inoculated, vaccinated. Had they received all of their shots?
They were.
You have proof from the vet from that?
From her vet records and her vet bill.
Okay, now I want to see the records of her inoculation, the one that died. Now, don't give me all those things for a specific piece of paper.
That's his vet records that I got from the vet.
No, that's not what I asked you for. I asked you for her records of vaccination.
That's the only records I had gotten.
Then you don't have records of that puppy. That was the puppy that died. How old was the puppy?
When he died, he was about 14 weeks.
Sarah?
Yeah, got a lot of information.
Okay.
So Carmela was diagnosed on 7/12/21 with not only parvo parasites as well, and she had a hospital stay until approximately the 14th in hospital, where she was treated and picked up. And there was a revisit with a strict instruction to not be around any other dogs, as it was still a highly contagious disease. She revisited on August 23rd, vaccine.
August 23rd.
Of 2021.
That's his dog?
Yes.
August 23rd.
For a revisit after the hospital stay, where she received her second, which was a combo vaccine, including for parvo, with, again, another instruction not to be around any other puppies or dogs and not to purchase any more puppies. She was revisited, but there was no negative test result when she left.
No negative?
She said there would not have been a negative test result, but she left with the second and the strict instruction to not be around other dogs.
Your Honor, I was homeless, and she was allowing me
homeless, hapless, sad, snowflake. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Almost.
Wait just a second. Hey, I'm going to throw your case out. Do you want me to do that?
Cooper Curry, of bringing his sick puppy into giving her dogs a serious illness.
Now, I don't know if you have family. Your family may care about you. I, on the other hand, do not. I am an idiot who was given specific instructions not to have their dog around other dogs, and you specifically didn't listen. Homeless or not, who gives a rat's behind?
Well, I paid rent to move into her house, and I was supposed to be moving in, and
I don't care if you move in. You're not Carvo.
She wasn't supposed to be there.
It doesn't matter.
It does.
She was there.
She wasn't supposed to be.
She was there.
She was.
She was there, fool.
She was not supposed to be there.
She was there. Listen.
No.
You don't understand.
You listen to me. She wasn't supposed to be there.
I'm supposed to listen to you. I'm supposed to listen to Mike. He's not only homeless, maybe a little high, maybe a little stupid. I'm not exactly sure which one.
All three.
Maybe all three. Told by the vet not to have your dog around other dogs. Do you understand that? You understand that?
Yes.
And when not to have your dog around other dogs, and you're supposed to be a dog lover, then whether she's there or not there, if she's there, she's there. You're not supposed to take your dog near her dogs. That's what you were told, that it's a highly contagious disease. Don't take your dog near other dogs. That's what you were told. Can I see your vet bills, please? Do you have anything else to do with this case anymore? I already dismissed it down.
So this is for each treatment for.
I just want the total vet bills. How much did you pay him for that, for the dog that died?
$1,000.
Wasn't paid off either.
How much did you actually pay him of the $3,000? Show me.
We did a cash exchange. It says, I have a text message that says I paid for the dog.
I'm looking. So is what you're telling me the entire vet bill for $303?
No.
Well,
that was for each treatment for each dog.
No. You say for each dog. This doesn't say for each.
Call the vet.
I'm not calling the vet. Your responsibility is to bring me proof.
Right.
This isn't proof. You're suing for vet bills. So far, all I have is for $303.50. No, excuse me. It was $478.50.
Correct.
You paid $175.03. Did you ever pay them?
No.
No. So you actually only paid $175. Now I'd like to see telling me that you paid him the $3,000 for the dog.
I have her papers or his.
Stop talking. I asked you for a specific thing. I said, show me the text that you refer to when you paid him the $3,000 for the dog.
It's not specific on there, but he says that the dog.
I can read. You said you had a text. I'm reading it. You paid for her as a pet and co-own, but I'm primary owners. Well, Ethan is technically, you're Ethan, right?
Yes.
So that's you who's writing this.
No, it's Cooper actually, right?
Yeah, I said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're Ethan, so it's Cooper writing this. So,
sorry.
Listen, try to shut up. You track, laugh out loud. I've had my attorneys on this all day. Your attorneys, you're homeless and hapless. Okay. $3,000 plus $175, $175.
I'm also demanding her papers because I had paid for her and I never received her papers.
I'm not dealing with papers. First of all, you're a dog if you intend to breed her.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And you don't want anything further to do with them. Right?
Never.
So I would have her neutered.
That honestly.
Very good idea. That's what you say in here. She's a pet and I want to. So that's what I would do. So you don't need papers for her. $3,175 plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
She knew my dog had parvo. She knew my dog wasn't supposed to be around dogs. To the judge about that.
I would have never let him in my home if I knew he had parvo or the dog had parvo.
By letting me come into a house with a sick dog, knowing it, that's negligence on her part.
You know, I opened my doors to him and he opened his parvo disease onto my animals.
She never came. I don't know why she said 1 to 2 days because it was more like 3 to 4.
You know, justice is going to come either way. If it's not from me, it's from someone else.
Helpful on the phone. I asked her if he took the dog discharged with a negative test, and she said, well, that's not exactly how that works, and explained to me how instructions on both occasions that he brought in the dog to not have that dog be around any other dogs because it's highly contagious. And not only that, but also purchase any new dogs for him to acquire any more dogs due to the contagious nature of the disease. So, very helpful.
You know, sometimes I would have made that call myself. I have to tell you, it was delightful for you to get that information and be able to convey it to me. And very decisive. You know, one would think if you're discharged from a vet's office that you're okay, but clearly not.
Just discharged from the hospital step.
The dog was in the hospital.
She said around 2 or 3 days, but that it was a fairly young dog, so that she recovered quite quickly. However, that did not take away from the contagious nature of the disease.
Sad. Well, one puppy died. If you can't take care of yourself, don't get 100.
Former clients Carrie Thompson and Christian Honigslager for breaching a verbal agreement to purchase his collectible.
Court come to order. All rise. Hello, Judge. We have case number 106, Hornet Slater.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Let me see if I can set the stage here for this case so that I'm sure we're all on the same page. Mr. Bertolino, according to your complaint, in the collectibles business,
Yes.
you collect various things. My grandmother would call them tchotchkes. You go here and you panda bears or ducks or figurines or posters, and you like them, you buy them, you sell them. In this particular case, you were having a collectible sale of things that you had accumulated over a period of time. And were you doing this or in a place of business?
It was artifacts, collectibles from my 2 previous businesses that I've retired from. It was an estate sale to liquidate.
In your home?
Yes.
Okay, and that's your business, right?
It was.
Okay, because I've really always been curious and program, so I can ask whatever questions that fulfilled my curiosity over the years. Could you explain the difference between an estate sale and a tag sale to me?
Generally, someone is selling off everything, their collectibles over a long period of time.
Collectibles, furniture, artwork, etc. Everything from an estate, as opposed to a studio apartment or a one-bedroom apartment.
Now, you respond to that, it's generally somebody who's passed on and their children are doing the estate sale. In this case, I had a little deterioration of health. And so,
well, I'm not talking about in your case. Sometimes we have nothing to do on a Sunday, and I see estate sale. Take a detour with my husband, and we drive down a road, and I see somebody selling old washers and dryers and crib and other such stuff, and it says estate sale. And sometimes it just says tag sale. So you aren't selling any of your furniture in your home, selling any of the artwork that hangs in your home.
No.
You were selling things that had been collected in your 2 businesses. Living room, was it in your living room?
It was on my driveway, in my front porch.
Well, that's what I usually refer to as a tag sale, an estate sale. That's a tag sale. That's why I asked you a definition. Clearly, we're not going to come to terms as to whether that's an estate or a tag sale. All the stuff that you had collected from your 2 businesses was either on your front porch or your driveway. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
And during what days were you selling? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
It was a Saturday, April 24th.
One day?
One day, ma'am.
One day?
Yes.
From 10 to 5?
9 to 4.
At some point, the defendant, your last name is?
Thompson.
Thompson. Miss Thompson came in. Did you know her before? And that was on April?
24th.
You knew her before. From where?
She came to visit 2 previous times when I had several years ago.
Also in your home?
Yes.
Well, several years ago, you were in business.
Retired from the business, but had the collectibles, so I was...
Well, several years ago, you can only retire... Well, that's not true. You can only retire once. So you hadn't seen her in several years, but she had come to the second sale that you were doing at your house.
Yes.
In between the first time you saw and the second time on April 24th, was there any period of time when you saw her in between?
No.
Pronounce your last name.
Honit-Schläger.
I got it, Mr. Honit-Schläger. You know the plaintiff.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times before. In fact, I think once or twice with Carrie as well.
Do you work together? Shake your head.
We're in the same business, but we have separate companies.
Explain the separate companies.
So she runs a collectible business mainly online. I run a collectible business mostly and it's brick and mortar. It's distinctly different. I specialize in records. She specializes in all kinds of paper and furniture and lighting and all kinds of collectibles.
24th of April of this year, were the 2 of you working together, even though she went to this tag sale?
No, I don't think I saw her that day, in fact. I don't remember if I saw her or not.
Was it you who suggested that she go to this particular tag sale?
Yeah, well, first of all, just to put, this was like a glorified garage sale.
I just said it was a tag sale.
Okay,
I got
I'm glad we're... So I gave her the lead. I gave her a tip. I go check it out. He has some posters for sale. I just gave her the address, frankly.
Okay. Is that exactly what happened between the 2 of you?
Yes.
He didn't say to you, go there and buy stuff for me. So you were buying stuff for yourself?
For my business, yes.
Okay. I'm going to simplify this a little, simplify the case for myself a little bit. You're suing Ms. Thompson and Mr. H. Hold. In what theory do you believe that you have a case against Mr. H in any way at all? Was one of those posters over your garage on the 23rd of April? And then I'm going to go back to the 22nd of April and the 21st of April. Did you have any poster over your garage? That's either a yes or a no.
David Bertolino is suing his former clients, Carrie Thompson and Christian Honigschläger, for breaching oath to purchase his collectible posters.
Did you ever speak to him that day?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have texts.
Okay. And we'll start with both defendants. So Ms. Thompson came in towards the end of the day, according to what you wrote, and according to you, for the whole lot that was left at the end of the day.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I was communicating with Chris and...
With Chris? Just a second. Chris, Mr. H.
Yes. And by text, we were communicating. And
hey, would you show me that? Show me what Mr. Bertolino was referencing.
And he said that he would
don't tell me what he said.
Okay.
I'm looking not at what you wrote here, just at the text. This is... Are you married?
No.
Is this you saying to him, Chris, I'm happening, your wife came in at 3-ish, she made an offer for $4,200 for all the posters. We accepted, we closed the sale. She hands me a phone, use $2,500, this is not right. Hi, Chris, you asked to be texted at 2.
He wanted a reminder. He or she would come out to look at what I had available. So I called and to remind him, okay, it's getting near the end of the sale. You asked me to call you.
Oh, those texts?
Those are the texts.
Well, you show me the last ones first?
No, that's the first one, reminding him that they'd be coming to an end today. He wanted me to...
I wanted to see the text that came before that. Did you speak?
They were phone calls.
I hate to simplify this, but he called me to remind me he had a sale. I totally forgot about it. I said, I'm not interested. I told Carrie, do you want to go down there? She said, I have nothing going. Car went down there.
Okay. That's not your wife.
No.
No. And then the next thing you had is, Chris, I'm not sure what's happening. Your wife, she made me an offer for $4,200 for all posters. We accepted. We closed down the sale. My staff brought all the inventory to the end of the phone, and you say you will only pay $2,500. This is not right. We completed the agreed upon price and closed. We told customers the posters are knowable. Everything was at the edge of the driveway per her request. This is not fair. The only answer I see, you are a bully and harasser. She said you were very creepy. Lose my number.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now, the end of the sale, Thompson is there. Right now, there is absolutely nothing contained here that suggests that she's acting for him. I'm telling you, that's not an agency. There's nothing.
She had a, may I speak?
Yes.
She had a record parlor checkbook. She's
That's not
taken our
true.
check.
Shh.
And I said, of course, I've taken it before from your business. So she said, okay. She turned to my assistant and said, folks, I bought all the posters.
Just a second. I'm asking you about him, not asking you about her.
Okay.
Part of this case is, from just reading this, and certainly from reading the text, you are, in this case, that Miss Thompson was acting either on her own behalf or on behalf of Mr. H in buying this agency. Look up the definition. Maybe I'm getting old and crazy. Don't say anything.
The definition deals with agent-principal relationships, that is a relationship where one party has the legal authority to act in place of another.
Okay, thank you. Exactly what conduct, can you tell me that implied to you, stated on, to suggest that one party, that's her, was acting on behalf of another party?
Yes.
Right.
When she arrived, I asked where Chris was, and she said, he's not available. I can take a look. I can make the decision.
I don't believe that. The last part of that, where's Chris? And he's not here.
Right.
He's not here.
She wanted me to let her know that she was as she has 2 previous times with him, Your Honor. This merchandise goes into his store.
Just a second.
That's not true.
No.
What are you talking
Absolutely
about?
not. Just a second. You time, Mr. Bertolino, that you saw her was several years ago when she came to the same kind of sale. That was several years ago. You saw her. What do you mean? What you're describing is a course of conduct. I want to know on April 24th what specific conduct were exchanged between you and Miss Thompson or you and Mr. H that suggest that she acting on his behalf. That is very specific.
She was told by Chris to come.
Oh, that's all right. If Whitney, next Sunday there is this phenomenal pop-up sale, you know, on San Pedro Avenue there, and says, gee, Judge Scheindlin told me to come down here and I can use her credit. I haven't made, because I told her that there was a pop-up sale. You had evidently done business with him before. She came down there. What specific language did either one of them use? I'm going to ask you one more time. So far, I don't see that he's involved at all.
She said to maybe 15 people, the sale is over. None of these posters are available any longer, which the crowd was like angry.
What does that have to do with him? No,
Buy
he
the
didn't.
posters.
No, he didn't. Were you acting on your own behalf that day? Yeah.
Yes,
He's not an appropriate.
If you go to my online, you'll see that I sell posters. He doesn't.
Whatever, because he spoke to him and told him when the sale was, and he told you when the sale was done on his behalf, unless you have other texts for me.
If you read the text in there, he's saying, I'll only give you $2,500 for it. So if he had no intention,
Those were your
why
words.
would he make that offer?
Just a second. Hold on. No, he doesn't say that, sir. He doesn't say that. You say in the text, she hands me the phone and you say you'll only pay $2,500. He doesn't say that. We completed the agreed upon price. Did you agree to pay $2,500?
Absolutely not. I wasn't there. I wasn't physically there.
I understand.
Yeah.
But was there a time?
She called me to get a second opinion about what to do. She was kind of feeling pressured and bullied into kind of trying to do this deal. And so she put the phone on, think about the price. And I said, what's the price? And I think you said $4,200. I said, how many posters? I think she said 2 to 250 posters. She does buyouts. In other words, she buys. Yeah. And I did a quick math. I said, that sounds like $20 a poster. These are C-level posters. These are not very collectible. I said, maybe for 5 or 10, it'd be a good deal. So if you get it for 5, maybe that's a good deal. I was giving her advice, but not.
Just a second. Yeah.
Yeah, but not buying them for me. And one of the things that's kind of gnawing at me, look, she can't sign on my checkbook. He's making it up. It's just it's a wild tactic. Yeah.
Mr. H?
Yes.
The case against you is dismissed.
Oh,
you can stay and observe right here.
Thank you.
Sit.
Wonderful.
Sit. Now I'm going to come back to you.
All right.
You're at the tail end of the sale. It was about afternoon.
I would say it was around 4. The sale was ended already.
No, that's not even what you say in your answer. It wasn't ended already. My memory is correct. That's not even what you say in your answer, that the sale was over.
I think it was him that said.
She announced that.
Bertolino claims Carrie Thompson and Christian Honigschläger agreed to pay thousands for his collectible posters, but then refused.
Okay. The sale wasn't over. You say that you agreed on a price of $4,200.
Yes. And then
you said, I agreed on a price of $4,200. What time had you arrived there?
Probably around 3.
Okay, so the sale is still on if you arrived there at 3:30. Okay, so we're changing the story. The sale wasn't over. The sale was live there.
When we made the agreement.
No, the sale was still on when you arrived there.
Yes.
Okay. And how many other people would you estimate at 3:30?
There's probably about 2 shoppers and I think 3 or 4 people of his staff he had there.
Okay, and there did come a time when you said, I like what I like, and I'll give you $4,200 for everything.
Yes.
Either at that time or immediately around that time, the shoppers left.
He announced to them that the posters have been sold.
Yes. He announced to them that the posters have been sold. That is a deal so far.
Okay.
That's a consummated deal for $4,200. Then it appears to me, because I read your answer, while things were being wrapped up, you were out in the car, and it was then that you called Mr. H.
So what happened was once we came to the 4,200.
So you had an agreed-on price, 4,200, and then?
And then he told his staff to start bundling up all the posters, touch any of the posters.
Okay, which is what the staff is there for.
I asked him.
And you went outside to your car.
No, I asked him how he had posters that were linens hanging above his garage. I asked him how we can get those down, and he told me those weren't part of the deal. So that's
Just
when.
a second. No. Was there anything else over the garage other than the two posters?
There was one big one hanging over the garage, and then there was a few hanging on the line of his porch.
What do you mean on the line?
Like he has like a front porch on the wood barriers. He had them tacked up there, and he told me that those weren't, okay.
On 23rd of April of 2020, was one of those posters tacked over your garage? On the 20th, I'm going to go back to the 22nd of April and the 21st of April. Did you have any poster tacked over your garage? That's either.
I had more than that, yes.
You had what?
I had more. I preset. I wanted to set it for the day before. So I took, just to say, to the staff.
Yeah, Mr. Bertolino.
Yes.
Nobody has valuing outside their house over the garage.
Not overnight, ma'am.
Not overnight.
Just to set it.
Right. So you set the stage with having a sale. Were any of the other posters, those posters, by the way, Kevin, would you take custody of those posters, please? Yes. Thank you. Just stay with them. The posters that were hanging out online, and that were the reasons that you bought some of the posters anyway.
Yes.
And you agreed to pay $4,200 for all the posters that you saw. Great.
Exactly.
Great. You put those out, all those posters out, and your intent on putting those posters out were to entice people to your collectible sale.
No, if it's
just a second.
Candy,
that's baloney.
Honestly.
That's baloney. You put those posters out to entice people to your collectible sale. And if I were to pull up to your house and see a poster hanging over your garage and driveway and stuff on your porch and posters strung up on your porch, and I say, you know what? Everything left here, I'll take and I'll give you 42. And then you say, no, not that one, not that one, not that one, and not. That's deceptive, sir. So you have the following choice. I'm going to give you a choice. Either you can say, deal's over, and go and sell all this stuff again. Stuff you didn't take anything, did you?
Nope, never paid for anything.
She gets everything for $4,200, including the posters she wanted.
Of course, yes.
She gets everything she wants, including the posters.
Yes.
So it's your choice, because what she says is, you said, those posters aren't included.
I never said that, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, very good. Then we have no issue. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. Give her the posters. We're done here. Thank you.
Well, I think it's the right decision. This gal shut down my sale.
He's the one that told everyone to go home, not me.
All of the customers there, along with my staff, that the sale is over.
First of all, there was no payment made, so there was no deal.
The merchandise, her boyfriend's store, which is where it's been for years.
The biggest mistake I made was having Kerry go down there.
We're on eBay. We have a 5-star rating.
Literally does not do estate sales. These are glorified garage sales. And he's a hustler.
There's never any issues. I've been in business for 40 years.
He just kept, we have a deal. It was just, he just had a really creepy vibe to him.
I think the defendant's a liar, pants on fire.
I thought it was a great decision.
I think that Judge Judy is a great judge, and I think she's here for 2 reasons. 1, because she's very attractive, and 2, she's smart.
It's a rare day that everybody leaves your courtroom happy.
That's absolutely right. I can't remember the last time. I still don't have a clear understanding of a tag sale and an estate sale. But you're right. Everybody left happy. And I did think that there was a contract, Sarah. You know, there was an offer, an acceptance. She now got what she wanted, which were the...
Is suing his former landlord, Randy Simpson, for motorcycle damages and a wrongful eviction.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 1180, Ziegler versus Simpson.
Thank you. Mr. Ziegler, This is what I put together from your complaint. You were looking for a place to live. You had no place to live.
Yes.
Mr. Simpson, and in that house, he rents rooms. He has a lot of tenants. It's a house that you own, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've owned it for how long, sir?
30 years.
Now, he agreed to rent you a space. He didn't have a bedroom, but rented you a space, at least temporarily, at the beginning of July.
Yeah.
And you lived there for approximately 4 weeks.
I got kicked out on August 6th.
So 5 weeks.
Yes.
You claimed two things. He illegally evicted you, so you want a lot of money for that. And your second cause of action is that you drive a motorcycle and that Mr. Sim allowed one of the other tenants, someone whose name is Todd, that would be you, to drive his truck. And Todd, your bike that was parked behind the truck.
Correct.
Causing some damage to the bike. Now, you lived in the house for 5 weeks. And your first name is Todd. What's your last name?
Todd Moberly.
Mr. Moberly, you acknowledge that you knocked over the motorcycle. The defense that Mr. Simpson is raising is that Mr. Ziegler had parked his motorcycle behind the truck, but parked it on the sidewalk. It's someplace else. And I assume you have photographs of that, Mr. Simpson. I assume you have photographs
of the
of that.
driveway from.
Did you? So I'm going to ask Mr. Ziegler. What time of the day did this happen on August 6th?
This happened late at night, probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Where?
No,
that's a question. That's not a so. Where had you been
I
prior
went to the store for 5 minutes and came back.
Just a second. Motorcycle. Where had your motorcycle been parked?
So the driveway would.
Where had your motorcycle been parked
Behind the
before you left?
Right behind.
And you moved it.
I never moved the motorcycle. No.
You said this incident happened at 8:30. I want you to try to concentrate. I said, where were you before this incident happened at 8:30? You said, I went to the store for 5 minutes. Before you went to the store, motorcycle parked.
Behind the Tahoe, on the driveway, in the driveway.
And then when you came back from the store, you parked in the same place.
Drove my car to the store, not my bike. And I left my bike behind the Tahoe.
Where was your car parked?
On the side of the street, since the driveway was completely full.
Car was parked in the street, in a legal parking space.
Yes.
You left the bike where it was. You took the car from a legal parking space. The driveway was full. You went to the store for 5 minutes, 8:30, then you came back. Did you repark your car?
No, I parked it still on had it before, where I always parked it.
Okay. And you went to the store to get what?
To get a Gatorade.
When you came home from getting the Gatorade, went to the store to get one Gatorade.
Yes, because I was
you were thirsty. When you came home, what did you see?
I saw my bike on the ground up.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Did you pick the bike up?
I tried to. It's a little heavy, and so it came.
Did you pick the bike? What did you do with it?
I moved it away from the back, and I put it kind of in the garage, in a little space in the garage.
How did you?
I picked the bike up myself and brought it into the garage. I didn't drive it or anything.
Just a second. You picked it up and you walked it into the garage.
Yes.
Just funny. Why would you park your bike behind a Tahoe if there was space in the garage?
Because I went to the store real quick and I left my...
What is bike? You took your car to the store. You said your bike had been parked behind the Tahoe because the driveway was full.
Yeah.
But you just took the bike and you walked it into a space in the garage. My question to you is, if there was a space in the garage, why would behind the Tahoe?
Because I was going to go for another bike ride again later in the day.
Later on in the day, it was 8:30 at night when we were going to go for another bike.
Well, because the cars were super close together and there's not, it's kind of hard to maneuver it around those spaces.
After you moved the Ziegler from behind the Tahoe into a space in the garage, did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
Why?
The evidence that it happened and everything, and because that he told me that later on he first admitted that he would.
No, just a second. Just a second. Conversation with Todd. He couldn't pick the bike up. He says it was too heavy. You picked it up and you took it into the space. Did you have a conversation with him?
Yeah.
About the conversation that you had at 8:30 at night after you came home from getting a Gatorade?
So first he was telling me that, he's responsible for it.
No. What happened? so far I'm not following your whole story.
Yes.
You do understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
Ziegler claims his former landlord, Randy Simpson, owes for motorcycle damages and the cost of a wrongful eviction.
So what happened? He said, I didn't see your bike behind the Tahoe because it was dark, right? Is that what he said?
Yes.
I assume that that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still not figuring out why the police were called.
Okay, because then later on he said...
Later on when?
About 20 minutes he said, I will not pay for the bike. And
Just a second. So now you're inside the house. You've had your Gatorade. Your bike, your car is parked on the street. You have another conversation with him in the house. Tell me what you were in the living room, what...
I was actually outside looking at the bike, looking at the damages, assessing how much the damages would be. And I told him how much it would be.
Tell him it would be.
I said it would be roughly, a rough estimate would be around $1,000.
Okay, so you said it'll cost about $1,000 to fix it. And what did he say?
You shouldn't have parked the bike behind there, so I don't owe you anything. And
okay.
Yeah, that's it. But
You
previously I let him know.
Just a second.
Okay.
So you said you're back there. I don't owe you anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's a lawsuit.
Yes.
And you called the police.
Mm-hmm.
Can I see the police report that you...
I have a video, too, of the whole thing going down as well, if you want to see some clips on my phone.
Tell me what they're of.
Okay, they're of him admitting to hitting the bike. Yes, and it's him admitting that I told him previously not to go anywhere and I'd be back in 5 minutes, that my bike was behind the Tahoe.
You have that on your phone?
Yes.
And I'd like to see the police report, Kevin.
So it's these two, this one and this one. That's the first one. And then the police...
Took place. That's what it says. Remark took place in the driveway. I'd like to see.
Not much. He told I was going anywhere. At the time, I didn't really think of anything I needed to go. Then he left. He said he was going to be back in 2 minutes. I forgot. He told me back in mine.
Got it. Okay, so the problem, Mr. Simpson, is it's your car. You got the insurance.
Yes.
Looks like he was high as a kite on this video.
Mm-hmm.
And if you allowed him access to that car, you're responsible for this damage. You were? Well, he probably was, and you are. So you have an estimate to fix the bike?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Have you had it fixed?
Yes, it got done with the shop a couple days ago.
Estimate, how much was it?
That's the final. I have a text message that shows it.
Just tell me what the final invoice
It was the 1134.
Now for unlawful eviction.
Yes.
After this incident, the police were called, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened with Mr. Simpson.
So, as recalled, I went inside the house, going towards my room, where his room's right across the hall from mine. And so he said, Alec, come. So I did. And he said, in my 30 years of living here, I've never had someone call the police. And he said, get out of my house, and yelled at me. And I did not feel safe in that Jaden, and let him know the incident and asked if I could spend the night at his house.
After the incident, he's going towards his room. You call him into your room.
Third time Mr. Ziegler's called the police to my house.
In the 5 weeks he's living there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my roommates were ready to kill him.
Okay.
Some written testimony.
No.
Yeah.
I don't read written testimony from people who aren't
I understand.
Here. Okay. Did you tell him to leave?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you?
Yes.
You moved in on the 1st. You were paying a couple of $100s, but then you moved into a room for $400 a month.
Yes.
Correct? Day in July did you start to pay $400 a month?
So, well, it was $200, the verbal agreement with Randy, but I actually asked for my money back because I just paid him for the beginning month of August. And he was telling me he should be charging $400 instead of $200. Did
he give you any money back for August?
He did not.
Did you pay August's rent?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
$200.
You moved to a room.
Yes.
That's why he was increasing your rent to $400. Where are you living now, Mr. Ziegler?
I'm living in Lee Place in an apartment.
And how much was your rent there?
It was $700.
So it was much more money.
Yes.
Stayed by yourself?
Yes.
You have a lot of people living in your house. Yes. Clearly. You are responsible for Mr. Ziegler's damage to his motorcycle because it's your car and you allow lives with you to drive that car, who acknowledges that he forgot that he was told, don't move the truck because my motorcycle is there. Is it on tape? He acknowledges it, Mr. Simpson, on tape, and it's your car. So you're responsible for the damage. And I believe you're also responsible for rent at this new place. You're living in another place now that you like better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm giving you the $700 that you paid in rent for the month because he pays notice. 4, 3, 8, 1834. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
I was in a Tahoe, sits lower than the back window of Tahoe.
It's crazy. It's nuts.
I honestly didn't see it, and he parked it on the sidewalk.
I'm glad I am out of there.
You know, the more cases like this, the more I appreciate your wisdom to always live alone if you can, because problems arise all the time.
Yes, it's lonely, but a lot less drama.
Case number 1171, Crockham versus Gonzalez. Please step forward.
Jocelyn suing her neighbor, Dominic Costales, for car damages after Dominic slipped and fell into her car.
I'm going to start with you because there are certain things that are not disputed in this case. Your body slammed in to the plaintiff's parked car.
Claims her neighbor, Dominic Costales, owes for car damages. Dominic says he fell and hit her car because it was illegally parked.
She wasn't in the car at the time.
That's correct.
When your body slammed into her car, it dent in the car.
That is correct.
Causing damage to the car. That's why the plaintiff is here.
That's correct.
This happened on what date?
2020.
2020?
Correct.
Do you have a photograph of the damage to the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. That's a bad dent. What year car is this?
2013.
What kind?
Dodge Challenger.
Have you had it for long? You still have it?
Yes.
You were in a complex where you live?
Yes.
And according to what I read, you were in the pool area?
Correct.
Anybody with
children and a few other tenants.
What time of the day?
Around 4:30.
And what were you doing in the complex?
I'm a groundskeeper and manager of the complex.
What were you?
I opened my door and I was dog watching.
You opened the door of your own apartment?
Yes, ma'am. And the puppy got out. And...
Whose puppy?
My mom's.
Does your mother live with you?
No, she does not.
So you were puppy sitting?
Puppy sitting.
For how long?
Just for 2 days. She was in Nevada, Las Vegas.
How old is the puppy?
She was at the time about 4 months, 3 months.
Well, there's a difference between 2 and
4 months.
Kind of dog?
Siberian Husky.
So a big puppy?
Yeah, medium size, yeah.
Puppy got out and you were chasing the puppy?
Yeah.
All around the complex?
Pretty fast.
And it was at that time that you slammed into the plaintiff's car?
Yes.
And now I'm going to see why you think that you're not responsible for this damage. I've read it, but I want you to tell me.
Okay, well, where she was parked at the time, fire lane, where you're not supposed to park at, and there's been photographs of her been tagged not to park there. And when I went to chase the gravel on the rocks next to the car, and that's when my body went into the car accidentally and damaged it. I don't dispute that I did not do that. I did that part, but the part it was parked at, if her car wasn't there in the first place, it would have never happened.
That's what I read as your defense. So your defense was the car was parked in the wrong place and if there. You would have slipped and fallen, but you would have fallen on the ground instead.
Yes.
And not damaged her car.
Absolutely right.
Okie dokie. Defense? I mean, it's some sort of a defense. It doesn't fly here as a defense, but it's a defense. The proximate cause of her car becoming damaged was your body falling into it. And the proximate cause of your body falling into her car gently let the puppy out of the apartment. That was the reason. You know, if the puppy ran out into the street and ran in front of a car and the car and hit a child who was crossing in the middle of the street, you would say that's not my fault because the child was crossing in the middle of the street. If it wasn't crossing in the middle of the street, he wouldn't gotten hurt. You negligently let the dog out. It was what we call. It wasn't an on purpose, but it was your fault.
fault.
More than her fault. It was your fault. If you hadn't let the dog out and if her car was parked, gotten a ticket, she could have gotten towed, but she wouldn't have had a dent in her car. Now, can I see an estimate for the damage, please? Did you try to discuss with the defendant paying for the damage?
Yes, I did.
And what happened?
He admitted and he said he would pay for the damages.
He did?
Yes.
Did you ever tell you would pay for the damages?
Well, first of all, she didn't approach me with the estimate of her car at the time, or her husband at the time, or still the time, came to my door an estimate of $500. And from what I'm hearing now, it's $2,500. So I don't know how.
I don't know either. Was the original estimate that you had $500?
Yes. Okay. It was originally $500 because that was just like a quick
look at it.
The first estimate that we obtained.
Well, if you got a first estimate of $500, why don't I have that?
Because that shop is not open anymore.
Difference between $500 and what you're suing him for, which is $2,500. Would you look up the value of a 2013, what kind of car?
Dodge Challenger.
You have a full view of the car? Rather than just this what you're showing me?
No, I don't have that printed out.
Based upon a 100,000 mile estimate, it's $10,000 to $13,000.
Did you have it fixed? We have a problem. Do you understand? Did you have it fixed?
No.
Why?
I didn't want my insurance company to pay for it because I didn't want my monthly cost to go up.
Well, that's a problem. Do you have a deductible?
Yes.
How much is your deductible?
$1,000.
That's what you have insurance for. And it was not your fault. Your premium shouldn't go up at all. You better be able to get the car fixed for $1,000 because that's all you're getting from the defendant. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
I'm satisfied I'll get something out of it.
I actually don't remember. It's like a football catch or tap pretty tough.
Time to get my car fixed.
My shoulder hit that and I got a big bruise on it after that.
Another case where my father's saying comes in perfectly. Is it my fault? Because if so, you take responsibility and accountability, even in an accident, even in something that, like you said, not on purpose, but accidents happen. You have to be responsible for that.
That's why they call it an accident.
Cost of food.
Court come to order. All rise. Hello, Judge. Case number 1030, Jones versus Walden.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Jones, the case is relatively simple. You claim that you made a loan to somebody that you met, according to you, on a dating app.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't pay you back.
No, ma'am.
That's what the case is about. I have a few questions for you. You do?
Graphic design company.
Where is it located?
My business is located in Florida and Georgia.
Does it have a business address in Florida? Or is that your home address?
Address.
So you have a business in Florida that you work out of your home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have the same business in Georgia where you work. How many employees do you have in Florida? That's not an answer. How many employees do you have in Florida? 2. Who? You and who else?
You and my mother.
You and your mother?
Yeah, she helps me.
So the 2 employees that you have in Florida are you and your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many employees do you have in Georgia?
Just me.
And
I work at a call center, working from home.
How long have you been working for this company?
For over a year, and I recently just switched to part.
December of 2020, were you working for the same company?
Yes.
Full-time or part-time?
Full-time, but I'm no longer working with them.
You were working with them for a year?
Yeah.
When did you stop working for them?
I stopped working with them after we had the PTO dispute. I didn't get went to Miami for my surgery.
Let's not use letters. PTO is what?
For paid time off.
So you were working for them. This is what this is about. You met on a dating app. You mentioned to her, according to your complaint, that you were going to Miami on a vacation.
Well, yeah, but I didn't just come out and mention it. As we was dating, she was like, she had a secret for me that she had something. And then it all led to us being in Miami. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just reading from your complaint, sir. Your complaint says, I met Eve after a couple of weeks of dating. I mentioned that I had planned a trip to Miami for my birthday.
Absolutely.
Eva was getting a tummy tuck surgery in Miami that same week, so I volunteered her.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Great. And you did go to Miami and you did have this tummy tuck surgery.
Yes.
You just told me that you had put into a job that you had had for about a year, paid time off.
Yes.
Time off because you were having this elective surgery.
Yes, 2 months before.
You put in for this time off in October or November because you were going for this elective surgery.
Yes.
During COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you were going there to celebrate your birthday. Absolutely. So far, we're terrific. So your boss turned down paying you for paid time off when you were going for your surgery. That's what you said.
Yes.
So the two of you discussed that you weren't going to have money for some bills, that you had your rent, etc. That was it. And according to what I read here from you, the defendant said that once she was turned down for the paid time off, she was going to disability and unemployment.
Yeah,
That's what you wrote.
Yeah.
Is that what she told you?
Yes.
Okay. And the nature of her disability?
I don't know.
You don't know. What was the nature of the disability?
Because I was recovering. So when I spoke with my boss 2 months prior.
You can't tell me what your boss told you.
Okay. Well,
you can't tell me what your boss told you.
Well, verbally, she had approved the PTO. So I never looked for it again.
They're telling me what she told you. You're not following me.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I got back from the surgery, when I got my direct deposit, mine there. So it was an issue.
Your pay wasn't in there because you went for voluntary surgery for a tummy tuck in Miami.
Yeah, but I had PTO that I had saved up.
So you had saved up those hours?
Yeah.
Okay. So they were hours you worked that you hadn't used?
Yes.
So far, so good. So far, I'm with you. Did you sue you paying you for those hours?
I didn't sue them. I took it up to corporate, and they told me that they couldn't do anything about it. That's when I decided to leave the company. I was stressed out because I couldn't pay my rent.
Just a second. So you quit?
Yes.
And you couldn't pay your rent. That's what this lawsuit is about, because you paid her rent, $920.
Yes.
$920.
$920.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the law is. It used to be if you quit your job, you didn't get unemployment, but that's not true anymore. Huh?
Yes, but I didn't get approved for the unemployment.
You didn't?
No.
So you didn't get any money?
No. That's when.
And you still haven't received any money from unemployment?
No.
You don't get any now?
No.
And you're working part-time now?
Yes. And I also, so I do that as well.
Okay. And you gave her the $920 to pay her rent?
Absolutely. Not right off bat.
I don't care right off. Audition. You gave her the $920.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. And the $920, according to her, you gave her a small business administration loan that you had gotten from the government as a result of COVID.
Yes. What?
Yes.
Well,
that would be a yes. Says.
Absolutely, but there's more details,
Well, there's no more details. I just asked you about your employees, and you said your employees are
my mom.
And your mom.
Yeah.
But she doesn't work with you in Georgia. That you work there by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure it all out.
She's just trying to help me flourish.
Yeah. She tries to help you flourish.
Yeah,
she tries to help you flourish, and so does the government try to help you flourish. I just want to absorb it all. So you applied for a small business loan that was designed for people who had real businesses with real. Just a second. With real employees who rely on that money so that you could pay your employees during COVID. That's what, not correct?
That's exactly what I did.
That you paid yourself.
And my mom.
Paid, just a second. You paid yourself.
Yes.
Says former girlfriend refuses to pay back a loan and the cost of food from her football party.
Okay. You had to pay yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a difference between getting a small business loan. So what I want to know is...
Well, it wasn't a loan. It wasn't a loan.
Wasn't a loan?
It wasn't a loan. It was they called it a...
Okay, now, when you do a grant, you have to apply for the grant, right? They don't just come to your door, knock at your door and say, hey, you want a grant? You have to apply. I know.
No, I know you know.
Process.
I know you know. That would be nice if they
That's
did.
That's the process. So you did apply for the loan.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when did you apply?
Right when COVID shut me down. I'm a graphic designer, entertainment business, so I'm just trying to gauge.
So you applied for it when? Okay. And when did it come through?
Took a while. A lot of oodles and noodles.
Just a second. Give me a month.
When it hit, I do remember this because I was like July of last year.
July of 2020.
Keep in mind, John.
No, I don't have to keep anything in mind.
Well,
you just have to keep in mind answering my questions. In July.
Yes, ma'am.
Between March and July.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you support yourself?
Actually, I got some cool family members that...
Just a second. So you relied on the kindness of friends.
Absolutely. No,
Isn't that
family,
what-
not friends. Family.
It's a family.
Family.
From the kindness of Blanche Dubois. Rely on the kindness of friends.
Hey, this.
And how much did our wonderful government, July of 2020? Amount, that's a number.
It
Is not
was
an
under
answer.
5,000.
What?
Under 5,000.
How do you?
I don't want to lie to you. I don't know the exact number off back, so that would be unfair if I said that. It's just under 5,000, to be honest.
Did they send you a second
I
payment?
want a second payment because I didn't need it.
Just a second. So you got the payment in July of 2020, and in December is when you paid for her rent, or was that in January of 2020?
That was January. No, beginning of February. February 1st.
February 1st. And he offered.
And then you stopped dating.
Yeah.
And at some point, Miss Walden,
Yes.
you say, after the relationship was over, he pressed you for this $920.
Yes, after.
After.
And during, I had just told him the situation that I was in.
Oh, no, we're past that already.
Offered.
I'm already through the entire alphabet of government spending. I'm already through the whole thing. It says that he came after you because he now has a new girlfriend. Or you have a new boyfriend.
Yeah, we just.
And
I'm still
then
single.
And he said to you he was worried that the government would come after him for the return. Don't speak. For the say in your answer.
Yeah.
For the return of this money, because it wasn't used for the purpose that this was supposed to be used. Paying your employees, like your strangers, like the people that run the cameras, right? And Kevin, right? Whitney,
Absolutely.
and Sarah,
Absolutely.
who were employees, and you were paying yourself and your mom. So you say he was worried that he wasn't going to answer, correct?
Yes, that's what he told me on the phone.
That's what he told you. Tell me exactly what he told you.
So he asked me when could he get the money back. He said that loan and that he needed to pay it back. So he needed the money that he gave me at the beginning of February for my rent. He needed it back. But it wasn't until after Ways that all of a sudden it wasn't a gift.
Now, just a second. He said he had to pay it back, or he was afraid he'd have to pay it back?
Yes, that he was a pay it back. He was basically, just trying to get me to give him the money back that he offered.
Just a second. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you back to work?
I do while I work on my music.
Who supports you?
Me and my manager.
You and your manager support you.
You date your manager?
Just a second.
Oh, my bad.
That is right. You have to tell me, Mr. Jones. Now I've got everybody. I've got everybody's story in my head. How she asked you, or how it came about that she told you that she would give you back the money, the $920 for rent. Tell me how.
First, I need to address.
No, first address my question.
This is in your question.
No.
I wasn't afraid because
No. First address my question. I would be afraid if I were you.
Can you repeat that question for me, please?
I want you to tell me how it came about that you made this for her rent of $920.
Okay, after
in Miami.
Yeah, after all that with the surgery, and I didn't know. Okay, I work for myself. I got
Just a second.
No more alphabets. I get it, but so that's what she told me when I researched it, and I felt like that was unfair. I think anybody in here would think that was unfair if that's what they was told. I was like, look. I'd be more than willing to help you, but I need. It's been COVID. As you know, I got to pay my mom.
He never said that.
She don't get a lot of money,
Just
but
a
she
second.
gets enough.
I don't know that at all, sir. I don't know that. Right behind you, pushing you all the time. That's not an employee. Okay, let's keep moving on.
So she expressed to me the concern, but I felt bad for her. And I just said, as long as you're going to pay it back, we good. Okay. And I didn't even ask for it right back. I said, once you start working, you pay it back.
So this was in February. Now, in February, were you and the defendant sort of having an intimate relationship?
Before February.
Before February? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
What happened after February?
She would only know. You get some money, you become a track star. I don't know.
She stopped. she stopped communicating with you.
It got a little different, but I figured, like me being the kind person I am.
No. It got a little different.
It got a little different right now. A whole lot of stuff gonna be different. So I was like, okay, it was cool till I was, she had a Super Bowl party. You can come get your bread. I came,
Never
I brought
said
some
that.
other things because she wanted chicken wings, and I was like, okay, cool, you're gonna hit me back. When I got there was no money, so I decided I gotta do what I gotta do because I need that money back.
Your Honor, he came to the party and called ahead of time and said, would you like me to stop at the store to get
Just a
anything?
second.
He knows everybody contributed
Miss
to the party.
Miss Walden, I'm not even addressing the fact that he picked up fancy cupcakes and chicken wings. I didn't go to school for 10 years for just addressing this 900.
Says former girlfriend Eva Walden refuses to pay back a loan and the cost of food from her football party.
Show me with regard to his statement that he said, listen, I'm cool with that. I can give you the money now, but you have to pay it back.
He just started harassing me, saying the money for the rent. So this is my lease. I just wanted to show proof.
Oh.
Just so you know.
Who do you live with now?
My mom. My mom.
Okay, great. And what kind of a house does she have, or do you rent a room from her?
Yeah, we're in an apartment.
Did you rent a room in your mother's apartment in February? So the rent that he allegedly paid for you was to your mother?
Yeah.
Does your mother live in that apartment? Case is dismissed. You are both of you. Get out of here.
Court adjourned.
I don't win nothing. I loaned some money, I wanted it back.
He's just being pet talk anymore, and now he wants his money back, which he offered as a gift.
She looked at me with some batted eyes, looked into my heart, and clearly said, will you please help me? No more bucks for tucks.
Definitely a lesson learned.
Case number 1032, Bradley versus Kimball. Please come forward.
Tia Bradley, breeder Rico Kimball, for half the value of a puppy litter.
Miss Bradley, you have a male Shih Tzu.
I do.
And that's your...
Yes.
What's his name and how old is he?
King, he's 2 years old.
And Mr. Kimball, you have a female Shih Tzu.
Yes, ma'am.
How old is she?
She's 2 years.
All thought it would be a good idea to mate your two dogs.
Yes.
Your female with King. King and Sparkle should have a family together. And according to you, made arrangements with the defendant that you would split any litter that you had. That was a verbal agreement.
Yes.
Mr. Kimball, Sparkies,
Correct.
as a result of this mating.
Correct.
Miss Bradley, your lawsuit is for the value of half of that litter because you intend to sell it.
That is correct.
You don't plan on keeping the dogs. You plan on selling them. So you're looking for the value.
One. I was keeping one puppy.
You were keeping one for yourself. No intention of selling that puppy.
No, no.
Okay. And this is the one that you originally picked as pick of. Can I take possession of that puppy for a minute? I need it. I haven't seen mine in a couple of weeks. Oh, you're holding a puppy like it's something that you don't do naturally. It's a very, very sweet puppy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is your pick of litter, and you intend to keep her.
Right.
You intend to take. Okay, let me tell you this. Mr. Kimball says that your arrangement was that you got pick of the litter, which is the routine exchange for stud fee. I mean, your dog is not a champion dog. I assumed your dog's not a champion dog. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yours is a pet.
Right.
And you're amateur at this breeding process, so there's no lineage that you're trying to protect. So the usual arrangement, not half the litter. That's why the person who goes through the time and the trouble and the feeding and the cleaning up and the care for it, there are only two puppies. They keep one and you keep one. In this case, there were more than two or three and they all survived.
Yes, ma'am.
That means that you were, good parents. I'm almost afraid to give you back this puppy, to give to her. This is the puppy that you brought in. This was her puppy. This was her pick of litter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Can you deal with this, Kevin?
Yes.
Good. She is very cute.
Thank you.
Yes, you are, and very photogenic and very good and very quiet.
Right hand, left hand.
Give it to him. King's daughter.
No, why don't you take her?
Deal with dogs.
You don't deal with dogs?
The dogs is for my kids.
You okay?
Just bring her back. Bring her back.
Peeing.
Oh, that's why you're holding her so far away.
Never done that before. She's probably scared or something.
She is scared. Okay. You wouldn't touch this dog. Why?
I don't deal with the dogs at all.
Well, How old are your children?
Well, he's 21. I have a 14 and a 16-year-old.
But you have nothing to do with the dog?
No.
So you plan on giving the dog to him? What do you mean it's their dog?
That's their dog. King is their dog.
Okay, fine. How would it be if instead of getting this puppy, and they could buy whatever dog they liked?
They like the Shih Tzu. That's why I had
No,
to
then they could buy a Shih Tzu and they wouldn't have to take this one home. How would that be? Would you do that? So you wouldn't have a problem if, since your mom's not going to have anything to do with this dog and doesn't even want to touch it, you wouldn't have a problem if you decided what you wanted to buy.
Yeah, we can do that.
He says that's fine. How much did you sell the other puppies for?
$300.
How much were you intending? Well, how about we give you $1,000 and you can let your kids decide? Would you be prepared, instead of taking the dog? He has hands full with one dog. Do you understand?
I get it, but we can handle 2 dogs. It's not a problem. That's not a problem. Because that would be the only dog we have. The dog.
So you want a dog from your
puppies
that he wants,
right?
Okay, all right. Then give that dog to your mother.
I can sit him down while she's on the leash.
That's fine.
Sit him down.
And you can step up here.
King, sit.
And take this one. Perfect.
Got her.
Got her?
Yes.
Okay.
He's scared. She's scared.
King. Okay.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Thank you.
Calm down. Uh-oh. No.
Oh, they're going to get famous with
That's your dad. You doing that too?
I ain't never seen that.
Overacting.
No, he's good with her. You're good with her. Not crazy about his father.
Calm down. It's okay.
Okay, satisfied?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Good. Very good. We're done. Thank you.
Court adjourned.
I'm okay with her decision of giving us the one.
Great decision. That was the plan all along, is to give her a puppy.
He's not a man of his word, and he needs the money more than me.
Once the puppies came, her story changed. So I was sticking with
My dog would be happy that he has his daughter.
I'm happy with it.
It seemed like the whole thing could have been avoided had they just had something in writing when they decided to breed their dogs.
The takeaway, if you're dealing with somebody, whether family or not, and you have something of value that you're exchanging, put the terms in a written contract, everybody to know where they're at. And I think that puppy, who probably was very frightened, had a little stage fright, will get to love him because he really was a sweet, soft guy. Anyway.
Friend Tavon Hughes for a car down payment, travel costs, and the value of her belongings.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Good morning, Judge. Case number 1103, Guidry versus Hughes.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Guidry, I have several questions for you. How old are you?
28 years old.
And what kind of work do you do?
I have a small online business, but I'm not current.
What is the nature of the online business?
Cosmetics.
You make any money at it?
A little bit. I mean, I was just starting out very small.
Other than your business, how do you support?
Uber, like DoorDash, stuff like that.
And before you became involved with the defendant, who were you living with?
My brother and I had
And then, what I gather, around 2018, you met the defendant.
Yes.
And then, in the summer of 2020, you became a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
The summer of 2019, the defendant gave you money to put down on a car.
Yes.
How much money did he give you to put down on the car?
He gave me $1,000.
When in 2019 did he give you the $1,000?
That was in September.
Okay, one of the things that was curious to me when you decided to move in together with a goddaughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she live with you during the whole time that you were living with the defendant?
Not the whole time.
Well, where does she go when she's not?
Well, she was living with her mother, but some family issues, and then she came to live with us.
Okay, well, then I'm going to get back to that in a moment. Okay, so in September of 2019, then you decided to trade in that car, use that car as a down payment, and buy another car. Bought another car that was in both your names?
Yes, he convinced me to put it in.
Both your names?
It was in my name and her name, yes.
Yeah, both. A part of this case revolves around this car, because when you had some sort of a kerfuffle in May of 2021, when you went on this car, listen, I've learned to avoid long road trips, long road trips with children, long road trips with mates. It's stressful on a road trip. unless everybody can watch a movie on there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you traveled from Texas to New Orleans, and there's an argument that was in New Orleans on Bourbon Street. You got annoyed. You left him on Bourbon Street, then he left you in New Orleans.
No, the full
That's
truth.
exactly how it went.
You had a fight in New Orleans, not in the car, outside of the car, in a restaurant, on the street.
He was yelling at me in front of everyone about something so insane, and I asked him multiple times, can you chill? We're trying to enjoy my birthday. It was my birthday. And he would not chill, so I was like, you know what? Let's just go, because you killed my vibe, so let's just go. So we're...
She left on her...
Try not to say anything.
Okay.
Again.
All right.
Usually if you let her talk, it's going to come down to the fact she said, I lost my vibe, and she left.
Yes.
I told him, let's go.
Well, not let's go together.
Yes, let's go together. Let's go back to the hotel because I don't want to be here anymore. And we're in his car, first of all. And we came back together.
You weren't in the car at the time you had the argument. That's what you just told me.
No, we drove.
You were outside
there
the car.
and parked.
And you said, just let's go. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go?
I proceeded to walk to the car where we parked at.
Okay, and where did he go?
He was behind me, but then turned around and he's gone. So
Okay.
I turn around and I go back to where we were initially
Just
standing.
a second. Did you go back to the hotel?
Yes.
Did you go back together?
No.
Did you go back to the hotel?
No, I did not.
Were your things at the hotel?
Yes.
Did you just leave them there?
Yes.
What things were there? Okay. Did
My
you ever...
cell phone and also my wallet.
Well, how did you get those things?
I ended up getting an Uber, not an Uber, but a Lyft, 5 a.m. Saturday morning, back to the hotel to get my things.
Is there any drinking involved during this time?
That is correct, because she was going to buy everything.
Sing a clearer picture. So you got back to the hotel at about 5 a.m. Was the plaintiff there?
Yes, she was there.
Okay, he comes back at 5 o'clock. He gathers his things. Conversation.
Yes. He walks into the hotel room and he slams the door extremely hard and he starts yelling at the top of his lungs, why would you leave me downtown? And I was really scared, so I didn't say anything.
Had you taken the car back to the hotel?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So you had an argument with him near the hotel. You were far enough away from the hotel to drive there.
Yeah, about 7 minutes.
I don't care. To drive there. And when back to the hotel, his phone was there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
His wallet was there.
Yes, ma'am.
All of the things that would have enabled him to get back unless he went to the hotel. So, in effect, you left him downtown and went back to the hotel.
After looking for him over an hour.
That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Downtown. He then left you with the hotel, took the car, and went back to Texas.
Correct.
Let's do it simple. Novel. It may be a novella, but it's not a novel. So you stranded him downtown New Orleans. He stranded you in Louisiana. Your case, how you got back from Louisiana to Texas. It's not my problem. That's your problem. You got yourself back to Texas. This whole case revolves around this car.
And also me disposed of.
Okay, we'll get to belongings.
Yes, ma'am.
Marjorie claims her ex-boyfriend, Tavon Hughes, owes payment, travel costs, and the value of her belongings.
You now have the car.
Which car?
The car that's in both your names.
No, I no longer have the car. Give the car back.
Oh, you gave it back to the company that you bought it from.
Correct.
And there was a car loan on it?
That is correct.
And so neither of you are our loan anymore.
That is correct.
Was there any loss on the car?
Yes.
How much?
About $3,000 of a difference between what was owed on the worth.
Okay. And did the plaintiff share with you the difference of what you lost on the car?
No. The plaintiff never paid.
So I'm dismissing that part of your case that wants money for a car. When two people aren't married and they sort of complicate their... Courts are disinclined unless there's some real unfairness to get involved with that. You decided to do that. It was ridiculous. I keep telling people, I've told a century, don't do that. It's ridiculous to get so involved.
Yeah.
Don't move in with your boyfriend and decide to solidify the relationship. Or a pony. Or a car. Or an anything. It's ridiculous. He did the absolute right thing. He turned the car because you weren't going to easily sign off on the car.
No.
He didn't want to be obligated on a car and be paying off on a car that you bought because your name is on the title. He did the absolutely smart thing, turned in the car, took a loss, just like you did.
So
Just
he
like you
withheld
did.
the couldn't even say, hey, let me take the car.
No,
and I make
no, you
payments
can't.
on it.
You know, just, what did I tell you?
Right.
No, he wasn't going to. You weren't going to do that. You see,
how would we know?
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why. Because I've been doing this for a long time. If he gave you the loan company, which now has two people on the hook for money, isn't going to say, okay, we're going to take the person off the obligation to pay for this car, and we're going to let just you, who occasionally drives for Uber and has a small, be the primary and sole obligor on this loan. No lending company would do that. That's why the smartest thing to do was do what he did. He has removed the obligation of either one of you to pay on this car. He took a hit on the loss, just like you took a hit on the car since he put down the down payment for that year. So make believe you rented a car for a year and you had the use of a car for a year. I assume you had enough. Okay, so you used the car. You used the car for driving Uber, according to you, occasionally. So the part of your lawsuit that requests money for the car, now we're going to get to that part of your lawsuit that asks for your property back. I'd like to know specifically, because this is what happened. You find Texas, he had stuff packed up. You say you got some of the stuff that was there, but there was a lot of stuff missing. You called the police, you went in, they looked around, and you say that you left items in the house that belonged to you, that he's retained. So tell me specifically about a hairdryer. I don't want to hear about makeup. I don't want to hear about 2 pairs of shoes or 3 pairs of jeans. That's nothing is set up for. What large ticket items do you say he didn't return to you when he packed your things?
Like my business supplies.
Okay, guys, tell me exactly what business supplies.
So I had my eyelashes. I had about 80 pairs.
Okay, do you know what happened to her 80 pairs of eyelashes?
No, I do not.
What else? Make sure you tell me everything that's true.
Yeah.
Understand where I am?
Yes.
That can turn on you in a dime.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Perfect.
I mean, I don't have a ton of
Just a second. What else?
Business stuff, really, but all of my other stuff, like I had just bought a bunch of clothes, a bunch of shoes, like literally everything that I own was in there together. All of my stuff was there.
I want you to tell me exactly what date and time you went to the house and he gave you some of the stuff.
It was on July 1st.
7/1.
June 1st.
June
Sorry.
1st. And the trip was in May.
Yes.
The end of May, May 28th. Now, gave you your things. What were they packed in?
It was a wagon that I had. He had like a suitcase and it contained some.
No, you mean a wagon that you pull? Yeah. Okay. So in that wagon was a suitcase. Mm-hmm. What else?
Inside of the suitcase, he didn't throw away my LED mirrors that I sell. LED mirrors. That's something for my business as well.
Okay.
And my passport was in there. My laptop was in there.
So that's big.
Yes.
Now, this laptop.
The beginning of 2020 into 2019.
Okay. Who purchased it? Who paid for it?
Me. It came out of mine.
I did.
It came out of my account.
Money into her account.
The money was a gift.
Just a second.
And what I choose to do is afterwards.
No. Listen to me, Miss Guidry. Let's not play games. Reason for my asking you these questions. If I believe what you say in your complaint, which was your role was to stay home, take care of the house, not providing for everything. So if he bought you a laptop as a gift, that's a gift. You're entitled to take it. If he bought you an LED, whatever it is, provided the income that provided this cash that paid for it, and he gave it to you, that was a gift. That's fine. But he did return that to you. Those were gifts. So he wasn't saying, I paid for it, therefore it's mine. There was an understanding that he had that his funds as the source, but he recognized that they were a gift. So he returned it to you. What else was in the suitcase? And the
bubble mailers, like mailers for me to mail out my products. And
okay, so he returned business items.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Business items. What else was in the wagon?
That's really all I can remember.
Just a second. Were there any clothes in the wagon? Any clothes?
No, that was the clothes that I went to New Orleans with.
Okay. Where were the rest of her clothes?
The other clothes that she did have, she had already gotten her clothes from the apartment. Back and forth with issues, and so she was in and out of the apartment all the time.
When you say she was in and out of the apartment all the time,
Going to her brother's house.
her brother's house and
Right.
take clothes. When you left for New Orleans, she had a lot of stuff at her brother's house. Is that what you're telling
That's
me?
correct.
Okay.
The thing she had at the apartment to New
To New
Orleans.
Orleans, except for these some business items
Correct.
that were there that you did put in the.
Yes, that I gave to her when she returned to Houston.
Okay.
Ex-boyfriend Tavon Hughes of refusing to pay for travel costs and throwing out her belongings after they...
Curious where the goddaughter was when you went on this trip to New Orleans and when you came back. Where was the goddaughter?
She was with her mom, disposed of her things as well.
What I'm just not following is why sometimes with her mom, now you're back living with your brother?
No, I have my own place now. Her mom, that weekend is because we went to New Orleans.
Just a second. You have to understand, my background is family court. So if you say you moved in with him and your goddaughter, there's a family court reason why she wasn't with her mother.
We never went to court. It was just a family thing, like ability of having her.
There's
He
a reason
agreed.
for that. And I'm just curious what happened to her when you went on this trip to New Orleans. And she's not going to you answer me.
Yes, she was probably with her brother. That's where the little girl went when we went to New Orleans.
We stopped in Lafayette, Louisiana, meet her mom.
That is not